rounds out the top three for that championship fight at the moment. But Kavir looking strong this weekend. He could be a one to keep your eye on as we move through.
Yeah, it's such a tight race already. 52 points between first and eighth. That's crazy.
Right, we're not alone though this weekend, and as always we have the beautiful, wonderful Becky Evans down on the ground, getting all behind the scenes. Becky, how is it down there on the ground?
Yes, absolutely, Ian. It is a hive of activity down here in the paddock. We've got 3 cars behind us just getting ready for their qualifying runs. You know what Ireland's like. The weather is going to be unpredictable, which means I'm going to be bringing you all of the action on track, off track. I'll be down in the paddock, see what's happening with these cars. It's going to be a huge round. We know that qualifying is difficult here. In the top 3 spot last year, we had Dean, Kuba and Lowry. Let's see if they can do it again. And we have 9 wild cards coming to the grid. We really want to see some serious numbers put on the board. These guys have got a huge challenge ahead of them. What do you think?
Thanks, Becky. Yeah, they certainly have got a huge challenge ahead of them. Not only that, all the wildcards have got a huge challenge ahead of them. Well, here we are. This is the weekend schedule. Right now, you're joining us for qualifying, and then we go for the qualifying showdown at 4:30. And then tomorrow, exclusively on Red Bull TV, the top 32 kicks off at 11:45. And then we go into the big show, top 16 at 3:20 p.m. all local time, all GMT. So if you're tuning in, make sure you have yourself refreshed and ready to rock and roll, because we are at the midpoint of the season, the midpoint where the championship now starts to get cemented for a lot of these drivers, and where some drivers now have to put in the extra work to make sure they're in that championship fight as we head to the PGE Narodowo in Poland for the final. Well, there we go. Grandstands are filling up. Everyone's taking their seat. But this is the bit that I like to get into, the nitty-gritty part of it, the track.
Yeah.
It seems simple. It isn't simple. Every year, every driver says it gets harder and harder and faster as they come down that straight, 4th gear, big flick across the track, but not over that dotted white line. Then it's down, keeping the front wheel on those dotted lines. See that white line in the middle? You have to have your wheel in there. Then it's out to the edge of the circuit to outside zone 4, then fire it back across the track, and a short decel ever so slightly on the handbrake before you get into that long outside zone. Then it's a nice transition there to the inside of the track before you flick the car to the first concrete wall into this long outside zone where you're met with another concrete wall. Then it's full throttle to the last outside zone and across the line. It seems so simple for us sitting here saying it, but it is not that easy.
Yeah, it's a track where one mistake can mean the difference between winning and losing. There's a lot of zones in here, but it is not easy to get through.
It certainly isn't, and there we go. This is how qualifying pans out today. 2 runs of qualifying, the best run counts. Top 32 advance to the finals, up to 8 championship points for best 8 qualifiers. And then, of course, at the end of today, we have the qualifying showdown where the top 4 qualifiers face off in those battles. And let's take a look at who's facing off today in our qualifying order. We've got obviously some wildcards thrown in there. Tomas Kiley, Chris Brady, Kevin Quinn, just some of those names from Ireland that stand out for me. But we've also thrown in a Britishman, Ryan Hughes, and an American, Amanda Sorensen.
Yeah, and then Daigo Saito. I mean, that is just epic that he's able to get out here. A lot of these other drivers coming out. Harry Kerr looked really, really good in practice as well. I mean, it's just been nuts. Jason Benet, though, I mean, if I'm going to look at a driver that's been so aggressive, I don't know how he's keeping the tires on that car.
No, he certainly has. He's been firing through all day. And then you see Nakamura in there as well, another Japanese driver joining us for a full season here. Connor Falvey, the rookie from 2024, in there at the moment, fighting his way through. Peter Wojciech from Poland. That car, big mishap in Spain. Back, though, and looking on form this weekend. As we move down the championship, we get into the top 10, and the guys are leading the championship. Heinen's still in the fight. Kavir, that name, I said, you need to keep an eye on it, because apparently he's the fastest man around this track so far. Every driver saying they don't know how he's making it around, but he's making it work. But the Wally system told us that Laurie Heinonen has the most impressive qualifying run so far. We're about to find out, though, because now it's all over. The practice is done. If your car's broke, you've got to fix it, because it's time to get on the grid for qualifying. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for qualifying. Well, here we go, no messing around, straight down onto the back end of the grid and straight to the start line as we see from Ireland, Tomas Kiley in this incredible 180 SX, the 25-year-old driver who is a huge name in Irish drifting. Slots that car into gear. Look at that, little nerves for Tomas Kiley, a lot of pressure on this young man's shoulders as he comes off the line for the first qualifying run of round 4 in 2025 and through the gears. Look at this car as he flicks it across a circuit, big angle. Kiley not messing around. Oh, a little understeer there. We had a little spout of rain between practice and the kickoff for qualifying as Kylie gets himself into this long outside zone, well placed of the car there, not dropping wheels over the edge into that gravel as he flicks himself onto the wall, rubs the back end of the tail lights onto the wall, goes for the second wall run, gets the job done again as Kylie puts it right to the edge of the circuit and across the line.
Wow, for our first run out of the gate, I mean, Tomas Kylie, he knows this track quite well. I mean, somebody who's been driving here for ever, as you said, an Irish drifting legend, and when his name came up on the wildcard, is immediately excited. So really quick off the gate, does a good job through that first section. A little bit of a hesitation through one of the transitions, but you can see getting things now dialed in. It's different. I mean, competing in a local series is one thing, being a championship there, but then you come here and realize that almost every driver you're competing against is a champion from wherever they came from. So talk about a big fish in an even bigger pond.
It certainly is. But look, you can't throw any shade on Tomas Kylie. This man has been around, a legend in Irish drifting for many, many years. You did notice a little bit of understeer though on inside zone 2. So judges will be taking a look.
A lot to be looking at here. There's a lot of zones. Line is so massive at this event just because of, if you are a little bit too far inside, especially on initiation, it can make things really wonky, and we'll see it as we go. Actually, we may not even see it as we go because the line in practice was so crazy. But yeah, there's just so many different sections throughout this entire track, and you need to have a lot of different things set up in the car correctly in order to make this track work.
You certainly do. There was a lot of talk earlier on as well in the spotters area as we look at the score, and it's an 88.5 for Tomas Kylie as he puts an impressive score on the board straight out the bat. The judges saying that they didn't want to see massive angle opened out as they come out of outside zone 5 and into outside zone 6. So a tough one for the drivers as we go back to the start line to another Irish driver. It is, of course, Chris Brady in this beautiful S15 built by James D and the team at JD 130. Comes off the line full carbon Kevlar 2JZ powered S15 as he flicks that car across the circuit. Oh, a little late on the brakes there. As Brady gets it done, just trying to see where he come down, and looks like he got it timed perfectly. Brady gets himself into this outside zone, works the throttle now, puts the back end of that S15 right to the edge of the circuit. Nice transition as he now sets himself up for the wall perfectly. As Brady paints the wall with the back bumper, comes out of that zone a little early and across the line.
Crazy to think we just witnessed 2 back-to-back champions here in Ireland.
Yep.
I mean, and these are our wild cards coming into this. So, yeah, Brady really aggressive off the front. You can see that angle.
Look at that wheel off as well.
Yeah, misses that line just a touch, but that car, I mean, rolling nicely side to side and using that weight transfer to get the car over. It can be tough, though. I mean, you want the car to be able to do that, so it grabs when you come through, because the amount of speed they're coming through right now is absolutely nuts. Over 130 kilometers an hour we're already seeing, and this is on their first run. There's still more to gain. We're going to see this get faster, but you can see from that angle just how much that car likes to roll over, and just a different way, and just barely skimming the wall.
Barely skimming the wall. Yeah, and that's what the judges like to see. I think here was a mistake for me. Look, left that zone. Maybe not as early as what I thought. It looked like he came out of it quite a little early, but judges weighing heavily on that inside zone 2. So as they initiate to come down, don't want to see wheels on the curb there. You can see that white line painted through the center of that box, and that is roughly where the judges want to see the front wheel of the car. So wheels on the curb are going to be points deducted. Obviously not making that inner zone, points deducted again. So we'll get into the strengths of that as we go through, and between the first qualifying runs and the second qualifying runs, we'll have a chat with our head judge or our lead judge, David Callas, and see how those guys are getting on. An 80.5 on the board there for Chris Brady, as he does a nice job so far with his first qualifying run. We go back to the start line to this man, Ryan Hughes, all the way from the UK. First time at Drift Masters, said he's feeling very nervous, but he's absolutely privileged to be here at Drift Masters. It's been a lifelong dream of his to get out on circuit as he starts that car into gear. The Toyota GT86 2JZ underneath the bonnet, flicks it across the track as Ryan Hughes sets himself up lovely. Look at that little understeer, but he deals with it. Wheels on the curb though for Ryan Hughes as he fires through, looks for the outside zone, sets himself up nicely. Not too much brake in there into that zone. Judges saying the decel should be ever so slightly, and then back on throttle once again as Hughes now wakes his way down onto the wall, picks up the throttle nice and early, puts a back end at 86 into that zone, looks for the final zone, and across the line. It's job done for the British driver.
Yeah, beautiful car. I mean, I do I like a simple car sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy liveries and everything else can be amazing, but just the simplicity and how this car looks as he floats up over that hill, and that hill is significantly bigger than I originally thought. Yeah, it's seeing the driver's perspective when they're coming over that hill. They're looking at grandstands. They can't even see the track.
Yeah,
you're completely blind coming over it, which is wild and just shows how much confidence they need to have in their driving. And I mean, really, we did see that here where it came over, had the car already at angle, and did a great job of getting through the rest of the runs. As you said, a lot of drivers dealing with a little bit of that understeer coming over it, and it's just so much weight on the car and compression coming to that section. But Ryan Hughes does a really good job of combating that. Maybe not perfect, but is able to get through the rest of that run, and at that point get the jitters out.
Yeah, exactly that. I think it is for most of these wildcard drivers, especially guys that are making their way to Drift Masters for the first time. It's 78.5 for Hughes. It's all about getting those first run jitters out of the way, losing those nerves, getting it in the bag and saying, I put down a qualifying run at Drift Masters. Now I'm going to work on that, build on that qualifying score and see what we can do. We go back to the line to a man that's synonymous in Irish drifting. It is, of course, the man from Northern Ireland, Kevin Quinn, in this incredible 2JZ powered Nissan 206 S15 as he slams that car into gear. And this, Kevin says, is the car that he likes to use more than the sister car he has, which is absolutely immaculate. As Quinn fires down the hill, nice feint to initiation, comes down, perfect line so far for Kevin Quinn, keeps that car right where it needs to be. Now a lot of handbrake, and you can see how that pulled him out of that outside zone initially, but now works the back end of that 15 right into the crease as he's full throttle looking for the wall, and big straighten there, and a mistake for Kevin Quinn as he barely now fulfills this zone, keeps it away from the wall, puts it to the edge of the circuit and across the line. He won't be happy with that.
No, there's some hesitation in it, and it's tough to tell if that's something where they don't feel like they're in the right spot on the track, or maybe there's something going on with the car. But some left foot braking, really trying to hold the power back on the car, so he's not having to shoot off track. And you can start to see it a little bit with outside zone 4 there, and then through this transition, everything looks good, big angle coming through, and then just as he's about to go into our last outside zone right there, there's almost a reinitiation, grabbing the e-brake to try and get back into the zone.
I think it was maybe a downshift maybe as well, coming into a downshift, and Kevin Quinn, probably one of only 4 drivers on the grid still running those Tremec gearboxes where you still have like a H pattern. A lot of these guys running sequential, so it's literally pull the lever and it goes into gear, or push the lever and it goes down a gear. Kevin Quinn has to manually find a gear in that car, like
like the rest of us do.
But not in my rental though. That's
no,
automatic.
It's automatic.
I upgraded.
Yeah.
I see you got the small little city car.
Yeah, they saw that I wasn't from here and just said, okay, we'll give you an automatic. We assume you can't drive.
Yeah, there we go. A 71 for Kevin Quinn. It's a score on the board, but those hesitations and that little mistake coming in to the outside zone would have knocked that score down. We go back to the start line to a lady that you're very familiar with, Jacob. It is, of course, from America, Amanda Sorensen in the Trinity Racing GT86 2JZ. A whole new platform for Amanda Sorensen this weekend to get grips with new tyres, new power plant, new experience, and she's going to be working her way around. Look at the laser focus though from this young lady as she fires that car in right where it needs to be. This is beautiful line so far. Wheels up on the curb, it'll be points deducted, but she puts it right to the white line. As Amanda Sorensen now puts the back end of the 86 right close to the edge of the circuit. Holds on though, as Amanda Sorensen now fires across the track once again, looks for that outside zone, keeps the back end away from the wall. Sorensen now foot to floor, looks for the final zone, right to the edge of the circuit and across the line. A very good job on her debut here at Drift Masters.
Yeah, if people aren't familiar, Amanda has been in so many different racing series that drifting is just a small part of what she's done throughout an incredible career in a very, very short period of time. To come over here to make this jump up here is incredibly difficult, as you said, in a chassis and an engine platform that she's not used to, but does a really good job. We were watching her in practice, got the line down pretty early, and then started to speed the runs up over and over and over again to just get as much speed out of that car as possible. And I think just a touch too much coming through that section. Very difficult to slow the car down while keeping it at angle and keeping that line, but able to get through the rest of this run, making sure that there's no zero and just trying to get a little bit more settled in it. Any driver that's coming over, it's incredibly difficult to get into the zone, especially with all these variables.
Of course.
Even just the seat feeling different can make all the difference to them. So
100%.
Yeah,
and Amanda having some really good help this weekend, of course, here with Connor Shanahan and her brother Brandon Sorensen and Cameron Sorensen. The whole family affair here for the Sorensen family. And if you don't follow Amanda on social media, go on and check out all of the stuff she does. There's a bit 69 on the board for Amanda Sorensen. As as Jacob alluded to, so many forms of racing, but we'll get into that another time. We go back to the start line to a man that I have been a huge fan of for many, many years. And of course, it's the one and only Daigo Saito in his incredible Fat 5 Racing Toyota A90 Supra. I'm excited to see this run. 20-inch wheels on the back of this car. He boasts the biggest tyres on the grid.
Yeah, and it looks like rubber bands for the sidewalls. It's wild. I was checking out the in the tire area where they're changing everything over just to see how different it looks, and compared to everybody else's, it absolutely dwarfs it. But yeah, an absolute legend. It's incredible that we get to see him over here as well, and just able to wheel whatever you put him in. It's crazy.
Of course, and the car being bought by a local company here in Ireland, Lucky Day Competitions, and they said to Daigo Saito, look, if you want to come and drive a Drift Masters, the car's here ready for you. So they prepped the car, got it ready, and here it is on the grid this weekend. And Daigo Saito, a lot of attention drawn to this car. You know, the A90 Supra is still a car that a lot of guys are developing around the grid. You know, we have 5 A90 Supras on the grid this weekend. A lot of guys trying to work out the kinks, you know, trying to get the Supras dialed. You know, we've seen this in America as well. You know, a lot of guys looking at each other's builds. What have you done to make it work? And there was a lot of eyes on this car because this car is incredibly fast. We're about to see it right now as Daigo Saito slams that Supra into gear, through the gears. He comes over the hill and he goes for a big flick. Not the first time for this man in Ireland, that's for sure. Look at the angle he carries, but he's way on the inside. And that's a big mistake for Saito as he now fires the car through. Looks to try and redeem some points back on the board for this one as Saito puts foot to floor, flicks it to the outside zone, goes for the wall. Saito puts the back bumper 90 degrees to the wall, but he's over once again. It has to squeeze the throttle to avoid the wall, puts it across the line, and it's a scrappy one from the Japanese driver.
Yeah, just going all out. I mean, Daigo Saito loves to put on a show. As much as he is a fierce competitor, I think he's a showman at heart, and that's really what he's aiming for here. Tons of angle. Look at that, completely to lock coming through, and just not able to get the speed to push the car out all the way through. But I mean, it's a tough run here. Same thing, a driver that's in a vehicle that he's not usually driving, engine package, and it's cool though that we get to see any of this where we get these international drivers that come in and are able to compete and put on a show.
People always say to me, what do you love so much about Drift Masters? I'll say it's the fact that I get to travel to so many cool countries and I get to see these guys drive in their home countries, in different machinery. We get the wild card drivers that come in that you would dream of meeting in person, and for me, you know, announcing to, you know, like this, and to be here this weekend and see Daigo Saito in this incredible car that, you know, we famously see all over the internet for many years now. To see him driving it here in Mondello Park is phenomenal. And look at those beautiful shots from our Phantom slow-mo camera as Daigo Saito puts it over the hill here at Mondello Park.
Lifting a wheel. It shows how much weight transfer happens.
Oh, the compression there is, look at that.
Look at that, yeah.
Completely squatted, covers the rear tyre. And yeah, that track, not to be underestimated, that's for sure.
No, it's that run-up is incredibly long, too.
It certainly is. Well, there we go, a 59.5 on the board there for Daigo Saito. And yeah, it would have been that initiation. And that inner zone, we go back to the start line to this young man, Alan Hines, another name that's been here before at Drift Masters as a wild card. Unfortunately, had a big incident yesterday, put the front end of that car into the wall. Teams worked tirelessly overnight to get it repaired and back on the grid for Alan Hines. And he said, look, I'll do whatever I can to get out there. I'm going to put on a show, that's for sure, as he flicks in this S13.4 as he comes over the hill and down. Looks to set himself up nicely for this outside zone. A lot slow in there for Hines. He now works his way around, puts foot to floor now, looks for this zone on the inside of the circuit, fires it towards the wall. As Hines puts the rear wheel right to the edge of the track, but he's in and out of that zone, and it's scrappy from the Irishman, but he's got it across the line. Yeah,
really the win here was getting that car back out. We weren't even sure if he was going to be able to compete. That contact earlier on in practice was absolutely massive. It pushed the one wheel completely back into the chassis, and thankfully the team's able to get things back out in a solid run here, considering that I'm fairly certain the front right wheel is about 4 inches further back than the front left. So yeah, Alan, I mean, just be happy that he got out there. It's nuts that the team even got this back together. I thought it was right off. I thought it was done. Yeah, well, word was when the accident happened that Alan Hines was out for the weekend. Yeah, that was. And most of the paddock said no, and 4 or 5 teams muscled together and they worked through the night to get this car repaired. And you see it on the side of the car, Alan Hines, an advocate for sim drifting and one of our virtual Drift Masters drivers. As Alan Hines, you can see there, doing what he could. He said to me earlier in an interview, he said, look, all I'm going to try and do is put a good enough score on the board in my first qualifying run to make sure I'm in the show.
and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the car back to the paddock and try and get it fixed for the rest of the afternoon and overnight. So a 73.5 for Alan Hines on his first qualifying run. We'll see how that one pans out as we move through the grid. We go back to the start line to a man that I'm very happy to see here. First time on the grid at Drift Masters, it's Simon Olsen in this James Dean S14.9 2JZ underneath the bonnet. The man from Norway hammers through the gears as he comes over the hill. As Simon Olsen flicks that car to angle, puts it right where it needs to be, and Simon Olsen gelled with this car straight away, a little on the inside, but nevertheless making it work right now as Simon Olsen fires through into this outside zone, foot flat to the floor, as he uses all of the 1,000 horsepower available to him, puts it right to the edge of the circuit. Simon Olsen not messing around. Nice line into this last outside zone as he puts it to the final one across the line, and job done.
Yeah, Simon's had an incredible career in an S chassis, and he's been between two chassis over in the States, and really the S chassis is what he has gelled with the most, as you were saying. But he's a big fan of the 2J. This is a great combo for both, for Simon as a driver. So good run here. A couple of spots where kind of fading in and out or missing a bit of that timing, but all things considered for a car that he's basically driven twice now.
Yeah.
Love the way that he's putting things down. And he's also a driver that does like to be a little bit safe in the beginning and then opens it up and just is a complete wild man after that. And he needs to build confidence over that period of time, and we're seeing that confidence come through. It's a really, really cool run, and for me, great to see him over here.
Yes.
Such a cool full circle moment for both of us. Yeah, just a really, really great driver, and excited to see what his second run's going to look like.
Well, there we go. Not a bad first run, that's for sure. An 83.5 for Simon Olsen as he puts the score on the board. And now we go to our last of our wildcard drivers is, of course, Harry Kerr. And now Harry Kerr, a last-minute name dropped into the hat of wildcard drivers, a big name in Irish drifting at the moment, leading 2 championships, not only the Irish one, but the UK one as well at the same time, as Harry Kerr making big moves in drifting at the moment as he fires through. Said he has the most lowest powered car on the grid, but look at the style he brings. Harry Kerr puts that car right where it needs to be and fires that car through, back on throttle super early as Kerr puts it right to the edge of the circuit, barely holds onto it as Harry Kerr now flicks through, opens up the throttle, starts to smoke out Mondello Park, tail lights on the wall as Harry Kerr goes for it, flames from the wings as Kerr puts it across the line. That is a big statement.
I mean, listen, the low power, couldn't tell. Absolutely couldn't tell. Off the rev limiter the entire time. Has this car set up so well. I think he was using the rev limiter like traction control through this run, and it looks so good, so smooth all the way through, filling all those zones, just absolutely banging through it. And look at this, just these very, very small micro corrections coming through. A little bit of an e-brake pump there, get him out to that outside zone 4, and just trying to lace that car through the whole thing.
See the clutch kicks?
Yeah. Just keeping it in there. I mean, it's when you're low powered like that, you've got to find ways to keep the tires spinning and then find the grip wherever you can. It's such a balance between, you know, having the wheel speed, but also finding the traction. Just surgical throughout this run. It was so cool to see.
Beautiful. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, just tail lights millimetres from the wall. Harry Kerr, like I say, an up-and-coming star in Irish and reaching across to the UK as well. And
yeah.
This young man, don't forget his name, because in not even a year's time, I think he's going to be on the big stage. And look at this, first place qualifier at the moment. Harry Kerr jumps into first place with an 89.1, and that's a big statement from our wildcard driver right there.
Yeah, just a massive, massive show up there. I mean, just really, really cool to see, especially with that low horsepower. So,
yeah, here we go, back on the line to our usual contenders as we start off things in order of championship now. Off the line, Timo Peltola from Finland. Through the gears, down he comes in this Mercedes-Benz wagon, compound turbo diesel as rain starts to fall once again here in Mondello Park. As Peltola puts it right on the edge of the circuit. Look at that dab in the handbrake. The guy's working tirelessly in the practice session to get the car repaired. Not sure what was wrong with it as Peltola now puts it where it needs to be and puts the back in there. Big angle, but he could have messed himself up, but he just about holds a wheel in that outside zone as Peltola brings it across the line. And I'm going to say that's one of the best qualifying runs we've seen from him so far this season.
Yeah, with the diesel engine particularly, they don't have the rev range that everything else does. They have all the torque, every bit of torque you could possibly need. So getting the wheel speed set on this car is incredibly crucial. And unfortunately, with that limited rev range, you're going to find they have to shift gears more often than pretty much anybody else to keep that car going. Now, this Mercedes does rev much higher than any diesel really should. So he's able to get things to set up a bit better than what you might think. But really pushing the car to its limit, pushing to the edge of the track limits, as you were saying, and tons of angle. But that correction there, I'm shocked he was able to make that. I thought it was either going to loop it out or be so far on the inside that it would kind of be a null point throughout the rest of the run. But able to make the correction, maybe not the run that he was hoping to put down, but given, you know, possibly some mechanicals earlier on from practice, always happy to put down a run as opposed to being in the pits when your name is called.
Exactly that, exactly that. Well, the team always getting it done, that's for sure, as Team El Peltola puts on a show. He is the showman from Finland. We wait the score to drop in from Team El Peltola from our judges. As the wind picks up once again, you can see those clouds blowing along. A few umbrellas out now. It looks like the rain is falling here in Mondello Park, and this could... So judges now being able to talk direct to my ears, Jacob.
I know, it's great.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
They're saying there was wheels off track, so they're
Okay.
discussing wheels off track there. So, yeah, and there we go, reflected in the score there for Team El Peltola. It's a 79 dead for Peltola as we move it back to the start line to Film Rush. Yeah, here we go. The rain has fallen now. This is going to change the game. We've had completely dry practice for 2 days. Film Roche in the Toyota GT86 2JZ comes off the line, shakes his head as if to say, how is this my luck? And look at this, the rain really starting to fall in Ireland right now. And we've gone from a full dry to a full wet circuit in the matter of minutes. And what could Fionn Roche do with complete dry practice? This young man had heartbreak all year. Can this be the weekend? He makes it happen. Oh, the car stalls up. Still a lot of grip there on the outside zone. And that's how quickly Mondello Park can change. It was completely bone dry for one run and completely wet for the next.
Yeah, and none of these drivers have had practice in the rain this weekend. Now, a lot of these drivers have had practice here in the rain, but not this weekend. So real tough there for Fionn. Oh, man, big head shake there.
Yeah, big head shake there from the Shanahan family as Fionn Roche comes off the start line. You can see, already see he's like,
I wonder what he was reaching for down there. I mean, it might have been a map or something else.
Heated seat.
Yeah, it could be.
It's like, it's getting chilly out here now.
Got to have it warm there, so. Yeah, really rough. I mean, if Fionn didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he nailed the initiation. It was very nice. It got on the handbrake a little early, rightly so. Changing weather conditions would rather have sacrificed a little line there, but stalled the car up, and I wonder if that was a downshift issue, trying to get the car down the gearbox after slowing so much. As you can see, big clutch kick for Fionn Roche as he tries to get himself back into this one, but
didn't give up though. I mean,
no.
you just have to hope that it wasn't as bad as what you think it is, and able to get through the rest of the run, put it together pretty tidily, and kind of became, you know, the tester for this track. Is every driver right now going back to take a look at their setup.
They certainly are. And there we go. It's going to be a 0 for Fionn Roche, one of the first drivers to score a 0, and just unlucky that weather dropped just as he pulled to the start line. We go back to the start line to the one and only Dave Egan and the full carbon Kevlar Toyota Supra GR. Look at this, he puts his hands up again. These drivers now, there's probably a little bit of frustration down there on the grid for these guys. Full dry all weekend so far, but now full wet as Egan comes down through the gears. Still going to go aggressive as Dave Egan knows this track very well. Oh, but he comes in way too hot and he's on the grass and manages to keep it out of the wall.
Oh, man, it's tough too because
I mean, I'm going to jump in because we were talking earlier on the spotters tower, and we were, you know, we muscled our way in to the spotters tower to, you know, talk to some of the guys up there, and we were saying everyone's super consistent. We spoke about it in the pre-show. Everyone looks good. Everyone's super consistent. The speeds are incredibly high. Everyone's pushing 110%. We expected another, you know, kind of Finland scenario where we had some huge scores, but in a dry track. Now, I think the game's going to change. I think that the wild cards have had the luck of the Irish.
You're right.
I think they're now. Could we have seen a wild card driver top qualifying where no one else can maybe get a score that high in the wet?
It could happen. Yeah, it's really tough to say as we see another look here, Dave. Going out and mowing the grass for the groundskeepers, but that's a solid point, Ian, is if it continues to rain and the track does not dry up, I mean, or even worse for these drivers, if it rains a little bit and then dries a little bit, these early drivers have a massive advantage in their qualifying runs. So,
well, I mean, as it stands right now, Harry Kerr is leading qualifying.
Right.
So if nobody else can come out and put on, you know, an incredible run, another 0 on the board there for Dave Egan, we make that one official. we could see a wild card qualify first because he had the luck, because he had the first run in practice in qualifying, and it'd be bone dry. Look, a big story unfolding this weekend, once again for Dwayne McKeever. Heard a noise in the engine on his last practice run. The team said, look, we're not going to mess around, we're going to call it early. They pulled the car. Luckily, this S15 that he drove in Finland was here on Strom Alloy Wheels' stand. They said, borrow the car, take it back, get out there and put on a show. And McKeever, way down in the order, way down the points here at Mondello Park, knows this track so well. What can he do in these tricky conditions? As McKeever puts it right where it needs to be. Absolutely dialed is Dwayne McKeever right now. Northern Smoke Machine, we used to call him, but we can't see any smoke right now. Just a little steam off the back tyres as McKeever puts the tail lights to the wall, as he puts it right where it needs to be, on the wall once again. McKeever absolutely flying.
Wow. When he went out in this car, first lap, he looked angry.
Yeah.
He looked so incredibly mad, but then drove that way and drove so well. This is a driver that every time something bad goes happen, he finds a way to step up and do better. I've seen him in one weekend drive 6 cars and crush in every one of them, and we're seeing that now. Just nuts, absolutely nuts. Everything against him, car that he doesn't really know that well. The setup in the car is probably different. Had to retool, reman everything to get it back out there, and then just goes out and basically repaints the line for the track staff here. Dwayne McKeever, just an absolute legend.
He certainly is an absolute legend. And it wasn't an easy jump out of one car, jump into the other. They changed the turbo from Dwayne McKeever's 180SX into the S15 because he said it was, you know, more responsive and easier to drive here at Mondello Park. So they swapped the turbo out before he even got a practice run in the car. I mean, look, it's been a tough year so far for McKeever.
Yeah, and it's just been a story for him. But if things start to turn his way, I mean, I know he's got a bit of a points race up to the championship, but he's always somebody who can fight from the back, work his way back up to the top. So this could be the beginning of that.
It certainly could be, and there we go, an 89 dead on the board for Dwayne McKeever. Well, there we go, Dwayne McKeever getting it done, an 89 on the board, still second place in qualifying, but way better than it was last time around. Becky's down on the ground with him. How's he feeling, Becky?
Dwayne, you've had a stressful morning. Obviously going through practice, finding that you couldn't use your original competition car. You're jumping back into the Strom S15 right now. But you've just put an 89 on the board. Considering how tricky the conditions are, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, felt very, very steady there for my first run. Seeing the rain start to fall on the windscreen, I was like, if I've not had bad enough luck today, it started to rain now before my run. But look, we pulled it again. We got a score on the board. Hopefully, strive for our next run around now. We can really push hard.
Can you tell the people at home what this track is like once the rain starts to fall? Obviously, full dry in practice. What is that like as a driver? I know from my own point of view, it's so scary.
See, coming up that straight, whenever it's dry, you're coming so hard, and whenever it's wet, you really have to control yourself, because once you enter in that first corner, and if you touch the rumble strip at all, like, I mean, you're a passenger. Yeah, it's gone. It's such a tricky track in the wet, and to be honest, every time I've come here, the tarmac has felt different every time in the wet, so you don't know until you're actually there and then on the tarmac. You don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to seeing your second run in qualifying, Dwayne. Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Becky. Yeah, there we go. An interesting fact that I forget every time I come here, those rumble strips are deadly in the wet. Put a rear wheel on them or a front wheel on them, you're a passenger. Good information there for Dwayne McKeever as we go back to the sideline to Yves Meyer in this crazy GR Supra. Fires it up across the line, through the gears comes the Swiss driver as he looks absolutely focused to dial. Problems with the car yesterday, he said the team worked tirelessly through the night. Another team that were up late trying to get it dialed in as Yves Meyer holds on to it just about. As Meyer now looks for this outside zone, looks like he's feeling a little bit comfortable. Pushes it right to the edge of the circuit now, works his way down, looks for the inside zone, picks it up nicely as he fires the back end of that Supra towards the wall. Full throttle for Yves Meyer as he tries to scramble, tries to get himself out of danger, tries to put himself right up in the order, and he does across the line.
Yeah, as a driver that's no stranger to driving in crazy conditions with, you know, all winter. I think he does more driving in the winter than he does in the summer. But yeah, Yves Meyer, I mean, scrubbing probably about 40 kilometers an hour off on that entry to make sure he doesn't shoot off track. And it looked like he needed to scrub about 42 just to make sure, but able to combat his way through it. I did a quick rain check. It looks like it's slowing down, if not stopped.
You didn't do a check. I see you out there. You were dancing for less rain.
I was, yeah. I mean, it's not great, but if it can help, then I will do it. Yeah.
The drivers will be thankful if nothing.
Well, it might mean that we're going to see a little bit of patchiness here. So I have a feeling Yves Meyer might be one of the last drivers to really experience in the full wet, unless things change again. I don't have the radar in front of me, but I'm going to need more screens for that.
Yeah.
That'll be the next screen that goes up. But Yves Meyer, great job coming through this run, and yeah, just able to get through it, and it was graceful.
It was
very
graceful.
smooth,
yeah, controlled.
Even just running the very edge of that track, it still looked good. As you can see, that's one of my favorite shots right there. Just that
never gets boring for you.
No, I mean, just love drifting.
Any shot of any drift car is always fascinating for everybody at home. And as we see the beautiful shots of Yves Meyer in this incredible A90 Supra make his way round to Mondello Park. As Jacob says, a little sunshine cracking through the clouds there as we get a 75.5 on the board from the man from Switzerland. As we go back to the start line to Clint Van Aert from the Netherlands. 27-year-old driver, 28-year-old, sorry, from the Netherlands. 2JZ Nissan 206 S14. And Clint Van Aert saying over the weekend, not feeling too good, the car not really where he wants it to be, he's not feeling himself in the driving. What can he do now in qualifying? It's time to prove his worth as he comes down, little wheel on the curb but makes it work. As Clint Van Aert goes right to the edge of the circuit, uses that edge of the circuit to bump himself back across the track. Now he goes nice and wide, almost too wide, a little dry patch there forming on the outside zone as he struggles to get that car to angle, and it's now starting to get patchy already. But the windscreen wipers are still on for Clint Van Aert as he hammers the throttle, hammers the rev limiter, and it's scrappy towards the end as he picks up that final zone across the line.
Yeah, easily one of the spiciest drivers in practice. He was trying a lot of different things and taking some interesting lines and different initiations. So big flick out there, able to, look at that, just perfectly straddling that line with the front wheels, able to get through that, and a bit of a touch of the handbrake, and then tons of angle to keep that car on track, just using the angle to scrub speed. And then through this zone, as Ian was talking about, it gets a little bit patchy, and you can see the little bit of smoke coming up here. It's a good sign, but that patchiness is incredibly difficult, and you have to basically react almost instantaneous to make sure the car looks smooth. So a few spots in there that were a bit herky-jerky, but able to still get through the zones. I mean, it's just so tough, and it's the luck of the draw right now as to what track condition you're going to get. And every driver is going to be talking to their spotter and go, okay, what did the last one? Where is it dry? Where is it wet? What's changing? And we can find another dry spot right on the last part of our last zone.
I think as well, these guys are hitting these dry spots. The tyres are getting hotter, and then they're going back onto the cold, so the tyres are cooling down, and they've got grip, and they haven't got grip, and it makes it very unpredictable for these guys. As we once again see these beautiful slow-mo shots. Looking at our other screen, it shows us what the judges are looking at. They were looking at that outside zone there down the back end of the circuit before that gravel trap, trying to work out if it was wheels off, and it was a good score, a 75.5 for Clint Van Aert. As he puts himself into the fight so far, we go back to the start line to Benediktas Čerba. The man from Lithuania sits on the line looking cool, calm and collected. Said that he's doing more driving this year than he's ever driven before. He was in the Middle East at the beginning of the year. He's doing 2 championships. He's doing the local championship in Lithuania. He's doing the Baltic Championship, which covers all of the Baltic states. And now he's here at Drift Masters, firing through in this beautiful E92 2JZ 1000 horsepower as Čerba holds on, and it's scrappy so far from the Lithuanian. And he gets himself in this long outside zone. Making it work though is Čerba as he tries now to balance that car. No such mistakes there as he puts the back end towards the wall into this zone, trying to get nice and deep, looking comfortable as he once again goes for the wall, flicks it to angle, looks for the final zone and across the line.
Getting that speed dialed, coming down the chute, over the hill, that is what has been the absolute difference maker so far here in qualifying. Getting your speed absolutely perfect. I'm not saying the initiation doesn't matter, but it's making sure you're at whatever speed is perfect to get that car out there. And all the cars are going to be a little bit different in the way that they're able to scrub speed, but Benediktas Čerba does a good job of nailing that. And at this point, it's all gut. It's all instinct to be able to get through and hit that type of line. But yeah, Čerba just reading it quite well, having a few spots overshooting just a bit, but same thing, able to get through the run, able to get through all those zones. We see that big e-brake pull coming into our last outside zone and then back on the throttle. So Churba, I mean, I'm really hoping we get through these first set of runs, the track dries out, and then we get into our second set of runs, and that's when everything's just going to let loose. And a lot of these drivers sitting with maybe the mid-70s are going to have that opportunity to really go out and crush things.
Yeah, exactly that. As we see the beautiful shots. Look at this from Churba. See what the judges are looking at right now as they puts it right there. Yeah, look at that, right to the edge of the circuit. Churba looking comfortable, not overstepping the mark there on that last outside zone.
Yeah, judges
I'm
haven't...
intrigued to see how this. Sorry, I'm intrigued to see how this goes. How the track is going to play out. Like, are we going to get more rain? I know the guys are looking on their phones, and our guys from the Wally system, the technical arm out the window.
Yeah, they are also part of the weather system, so maybe we'll have to call
they've got that data as well.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. It's going to be a 74 for Benedictus Churba, puts him in 10th place at the moment, and a score on the board for the Lithuanian as we go back to the start line to Jakub Kroll from Poland in this beautiful S14.9 carbon Kevlar car. 2JZ, 920 horsepower, and earlier on today, Jakub Kroll looking good. A lot of people mentioning how fast he was, but look at this, completely reduced speed. But now the initiation, that moment of handbrake drag there getting dry, but the rest of the circuit at the moment looking completely wet, just parts of it patchy, and that's going to make it very difficult. Look at this, as Kroll gets into the outside zone, he almost has to go full throttle, then lift off. That zone patchy halfway through. Now it starts to dry, as Jakub Kroll puts the back end of that S14.9 right where it needs to be, goes for the wall as Kroll almost takes the back bumper off. Final outside zone and across the line.
Yeah, Jakub Kroll did something really interesting on the initiation. He kind of did a bit of a slow roll and then lit the tires up at the last minute, which I thought was really interesting. The judges in the briefing ahead of time said they didn't want them using an e-brake. You could use it a little bit, but you have to do it so quick that they can't see it. That was exactly their words. Like, we know some of you are going to do it, but Jakub Kroll found kind of a hack to that. Yeah. Not having to use the e-brake at initiation, and the rest of this run looks so dialed, and now we're starting to see white smoke appear as the track is already drying out. And the gentleman from the Wally system, arm out the window, letting us know how things are changing. But Jakub Kroll, I mean, this is, I think we're going to see a bit of a jump here in some of these scores as this starts to go. And Jakub Kroll, I mean, getting the benefit of a partially dry track. So
yeah, and I mean, look, if you were sat in that, you know, those 5-6 drivers that unfortunately got that rainfall, you're sitting there saying, how is my luck?
Right.
Because now, you know, we're going to move to the top end of the championship in a moment, or the halfway point of the championship. And there we go. Look, scores creeping up already, an 85.5 for Jakub Kroll. They could potentially, get a full dry track. Yeah. So then, for the second runs for those guys that had it full wet, they're not going to be able to come out here and do a 70-point run. They're going to have to come out and do an 80, 90-point run. We go back on the start line. It's going to be Diogo Correa from Portugal in this BMW E92. No engine problems this weekend, no problems with the car, just trying to get himself dialed as he flicks in that BMW. Going a big understeer there, but he catches a hold of it, dials on the angle and manages to keep four wheels on circuit as Correa looks for the outside zone, just dips a wheel in halfway through, now starts to pick up that qualifying line as Correa fires that car across the track, back towards the wall goes Diogo Correa, tags the wall, keeps it in the zone as he puts foot to floor once again, and Correa opens up the throttle across the line.
What an amazing save from Diogo Correa there, because he could have gone completely off track, could have been this, and at the last second was able to dial things back in, especially putting a front wheel on the, hey, when it's patchy like that, I understand. I completely understand, but yeah, it was a really, really interesting run as we'll take a look from this initiation. Gets the car out to angle and then has just a bit more bite in the car than what he was hoping for when he gets on the power. And it's very easy to shoot off track at that point. You need that forward push, but the way that he scrubs the angle scrubs the speed by throwing a ton of angle at it, enables him to at least start to get back out to the outside zone. So a small mistake in the very beginning had some repercussions later on, but Diogo Correa handles it with grace and is able to get through the rest of the run without any other massive mistakes. So
I think for me, with the quick thinking, it jumped on the handbrake, got the car back to some sort of angle, then fired it on more angle to save himself from going off track. It's going to be a 70.5 on the ball for Diogo Correa. Very quick driver thinking there from Correa, coming over that hill at probably 80-90 kilometers an hour at the moment. We go back on the line, it's going to be Kevin Pascolti from Hungary in this BMW E92 supercharged V8 underneath the bonnet, 1,020 horsepower. Ooh. And he is the multi-Hungarian national champion, as he comes off the line, yet to get that podium here at Drift Masters. Every year he comes, you know, with that mindset, with that style, with that driving ability, but yet to find himself into that zone, wheel up on the curb, that'll be points deducted, but nevertheless, it looks like Pascoli has found a completely dry line so far, as Pascoli uses all of that 1,020 horsepower now to navigate this carbon Kevlar BMW right where it needs to be. We just see a shot of his spotter in the tower, shouting down to him, telling him what is going on, as Pascoli puts bumper to wall and tyre to line and across the line.
Yeah, Pascolti's got a lot weighing on him right now. I mean, coming off of last year with the 7th place overall, wanting to really start to push the pace, push that ranking up a lot higher, and his driving has stepped up. He had an incredible season last year, but even from our first round this year, you can see he's pushing harder. He's taking more risks, and that's what needs to happen in order to be a champion. You have to take risks, and hopefully they pay off for you. And pushing really, really hard throughout this run, really starting to see the smoke pop out now, which is phenomenal. And taking advantage of that. Look at the angle coming through there. Now, looks great. We love it. Judges
didn't like it.
No, judges don't want that much angle coming through that section.
And they're looking at us saying, we know what you like.
Yeah, we're here for the big show.
Impressed.
Right, it's really not hard.
No.
I mean, you can ride a skateboard, you're impressing me, but these drivers, I mean, this is impressive to me, especially what we're seeing coming out here from Pascolti. Yeah, great run there, and hopefully the judges maybe missed that bit of extra angle.
Yeah, there we go.
83.
And 83 on the board. Yeah, judges saying in the briefing that coming out of outside zone 4, didn't want to see the drivers open out the angle so much to 5 and then opening it more again. They wanted to see a nice rate to angle, a nice amount of angle, not too much. We go back on the start line to the man from Cyprus. He's George Christoforou, gets onto the line. BMW 1 Series E82 with a E36 M3 turbo engine underneath the bonnet as Christoforou fires in big angle, but he's on the curb, and that is what McKeever said about. Just takes it to the wall and takes down one of our cameras. As McKeever said it, you get a wheel on the curbs are like glass.
It's painted. I mean, it's going to have some moisture buildup on it now, and yeah, it's very lucky that is the worst that we're seeing out of that crash, because it could have been way worse. Another couple kilometers an hour, and that would have been really nasty. But yeah, got it onto the curb, and at that point, there is nothing that you can do but hope and pray that it's not going to be a bad wreck. Oh, man.
Oh, the camera.
I know. We had the same look.
We had the same look.
Exact same look.
I was trying to do that look while talk.
It's impressive that you were able to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody gets to see that though, but yeah, into the tires, pushing the concrete barrier back just a little bit, and hopefully we got some insurance on that camera. And of course we got the shot of it.
Yeah, our producer Nick would have been like, let's get that shot. There we go. We make it official. It will be a 0 for Christoforou, and our cameraman there, braving everything to get these shots here at Red Bull TV.
I like that George just went really hard at it, though, knowing that...
I think the problem is, like, he would have watched, or his spotters would have watched Kevin Pascolti's run.
Right.
And they would have said, hey, he was almost full dry. You can go in here, you know, full tilt, full commitment like you've been doing all morning. What Christoforou didn't, take into consideration was if you're on that curb, like McKeever said, it's still wet, it's going to retain some moisture, and it's going to be slippery.
Well, and he had the same speed that we saw out of Simon Olsen, who did the whole thing in the dry. So that's the interesting thing. He looked at this and set the car up and went at it like this is a completely dry track, which it kind of is, except for that part.
That is the one bit you can't go on.
No. That is the forbidden, that is the no-go zone for sure.
So there we go. We're going to get the teleport around, just repair this wall, just slightly nudge it back. Our marshal's down there on the ground saying that it's just out of place. And, we want it to be perfect because we want the track to be, consistent, the same for every driver. We can't control the grip on the track, obviously, but we can control the variables that we have put in place, like the walls, the zones, the cones, and all that sort of stuff. So we make sure that the track is right every single run for these guys, and featuring the Manitou this weekend.
The drivers are so precise that they will actually come back and say, that wall is not in the correct spot.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard those conversations where they said, hey, you didn't put that back in the correct spot because I was dragging bumper every other run, and then on my next run, I hit the wall, and I know that wall was in the wrong spot. And most of the time, they're right.
They're that good.
Yeah, I do remember
Robots.
James Dean once talking about a different type of paint being used, and he could feel it.
He could feel it, yeah.
That just changed everything in my mind. Like, there's no way. But I
believe he's
him.
a machine.
Yeah, very different.
He's almost AI at this point.
Not sure if he's even human.
No.
You can't be.
Well...
It's just, for most of these drivers, what they're doing is incredibly inhuman.
It certainly is. Well, here we go. This is what happened to George Christopherou as he fired down. You can see that rear wheel just touched the paint. It just got on that curb, and it just goes to show you how much it can throw you offline and push you off track. And George Christopherou from Cyprus will have a 0 on the board and all to do on his second qualifying run. And that wall not as easy to repair as maybe we first thought.
I think they're just trying to get that camera angle perfect. Having to move the tires as well, so because they're not light.
No, certainly not.
You can see all the buildup along that wall as well. Now, this would have been swept in between, but I don't know if they quite got out there. That's another spot that can be incredibly treacherous. Touching the wall is great, but if you get that far back, those rubber marbles basically become glass.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, our judges went into more detail, and we spoke about it briefly in Finland, about the judging criteria in the zones and where the judges wanted to see the wheels. And our judges went into great detail and you know, created these graphics that showed the drivers the perfect area where the wheel is, you know, in a zone. They gave them green, red, and amber zones. You know, if you're not in the green, if you're in the red or the amber, you're bleeding points, whether that be too far into the zone. And we spoke about it in Finland, about that first long outside zone on the wall. You know, we didn't want to see the back end of the car smooshed into the wall. We wanted to see the wheel in the zone, the bumper tickling the wall. That was the perfect key for the judges. And if you could imagine that outer zone there divided into 3 or 4 sections, that would be the perfect line. And since then, our drivers have become even more finessed on this line driving, because I'm not saying they weren't before, but now they know exactly where to put the rear wheel. They've become incredibly good at it, and that's why we looked back at Finland and looked at those qualifying scores and were like, these guys are just unbelievable now. You know, we gave them the information, they took it on board, the spotters took it on board, and together they just gave us absolute perfect.
Yeah, it's a really cool tool to be able to drive to as well, because you know exactly what they're looking for. It gives the judges a great criteria as well to say, this is why your line score was what it was, is because, here, go back and watch the video, because we're going to see it, and the judges are able to kind of, they've got a judge completely dedicated to just showing the best camera angles, which is phenomenal. So they're able to run through that. We're able to see what they're looking at as well, and it just means that we have so much information and clarity on exactly what's going through through their brains. And now at the point where they're able to speak to us, so which is,
I don't know if I like it.
I mean, they're trying to put lunch orders through us, and that I think I'm drawing the line.
Yeah, there's a line there. I'm not going to go get them a cheeseburger.
No,
just, you know.
Yeah, we got things to do.
Yeah, we're busy.
Yeah, very busy. Well,
there we go. We go back on the line. Looks like our track cleanup is almost done as we see Jarkko Jula from Finland pull up to the line. It's incredible. Toyota JZX 100. As he comes through the gears down, big flick across the circuit now. Will he keep it clean? He does. And look at this from Jarkko Jula on the foot brake, but goes too far, pushes the front end over that inner zone. Now starts to tidy it up as Jarkko Jula puts the back end into this long outside zone. It looks like in that break, the wind has come through Mondello Park and completely dried the track. As Jarkko Jula, look at that beautiful line as Jula puts the back end to the wall and across the line as the Finnish driver makes a big statement.
Yeah, Jarkko Jula right off the gate looking really, really aggressive and just not able to quite time that initiation perfect, but then I feel like makes up for it so much the rest of this run. You can see it's just massive car coming over the hill, swinging it nice and wide and coming back just a little bit. And when he gets on the throttle, that's what caused him to be a bit inside on that clip. And then through the rest of these zones, though, able to get things dialed. And look at that, through the gears, grabs that e-brake as he comes through, fourth outside zone, back on throttle, and just a very, very small movements of the steering wheel, almost unperceivable or imperceivable on the outside of the car. But those tiny, tiny little corrections mean the difference between, as you said, that perfect line all the way through the zone and maybe a 1 or 2 point deduction as he comes through. And look at this setup, come through that last section, that car leaning all the way over, getting all the way wide. To the wall.
Yeah, beautiful stuff there. Biggest mistake for me was obviously that inside zone 2. I was looking back at the replay that judges were looking at, and you can see the car very shallow angle, one wheel completely over the curb onto the grass. So that would be massive points deduction. You can see the Wally system there on the roof.
There it is.
Of Jarkko Jula's JZX 100.
Getting us close up.
Transmitting the signal from the car straight back to here to the commentary and judging area, straight to your laptop, Jacob, and you can tell me how fast he was going.
That was... Hang on, let me pull this back up. So high speed there of around 117 kilometers per hour. It's not one of the fastest runs.
But that was enough, and an 88
Exactly.
on the board for Jarko Euler. We go back on the start line to this man all the way from France, Jason Benet in the Subaru BRZ2 JZ underneath the bonnet now. Big things being said about this man. Everyone's saying that he is a name and he is someone to look up to, and I've called it all year so far. I'm just waiting for him to shine as Jason Benet fires in. He's been coming through there at absolute pace, and look at the line from Benet, right where the judges wanted to see him. This is beautiful so far. Can he hold it together? Benet into that outside zone, absolutely perfect. It's pinpoint perfect from the Frenchman as he goes for the wall. Down he comes, nice little dab of the handbrake, sets himself up perfectly as Benet tickles the back bumper along the wall and across the line.
Him in practice, I think I
Wow.
texted you. I was like, Benet is on one.
You
And
did.
He started by chasing, and he started by chasing, and he was dooring everybody. He was right on Jack Shanahan, and that was the moment I went, oh my gosh, if Benet can keep this together, if he can wrangle in all that horsepower, he's got everything else sorted, and the amount of grip they've got dialed in. And just, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from him, but punching so far above his weight here in Ireland, it's just been wild to see. Not the start to the season that he might have wanted, but I think he's making up for it now and started off practice with just incredible results. And look at that, just tickling the edge of the track all the way through.
Jason Benet's walked in, he's opened the front door, he's kicked off his trainers, he's now got his slippers on, and he's got his house coat,
Yep.
his dressing gown, he's got it buttoned up, he's feeling comfortable at Drift Masters. And there we go. That is how comfortable the Frenchman is feeling. A 91.5, one of the biggest scores we've seen so far as we see a fire extinguisher out, putting out a fire on the back of the car. Benet leans out with a thumb up saying, it's all good, buddy.
It's been doing that all day.
It's been doing that all day.
Yeah, and that, I mean, when
He
you...
gets squirted in the face.
Oh, come on.
God.
We're all friends here.
We're all friends here, and it's all for safety.
Yeah. It's been doing that throughout practice, and that is such a big testament to how much heat is going into the tires and how much grip they've got dialed in. If you see a tire light up like that, you know they've got that car wicked up.
They certainly have, and they've got the wheel speed wicked up as well. We go back to the line to Marko Zakaril from the Czech Republic in this BMW F22 M2 Volkswagen Golf R TFSI turbo engine underneath the bonnet, making that swap from a V8 to a 4-cylinder this year. Half the cylinders, but said the car drives 10 times better.
Yeah, able to get the balance, shift it back a little bit. Last minute message, all right, watch this, is probably what he's saying.
Oh, you reckon?
I hope that's what I'd be saying. Oh, as we might have to take a second here just to clean things up after we had that little bit of a tire fire, but...
Yeah, a little bit of tire fire. Oh, and it looks like there was some fluid spilt on track there.
I think that might have just been from
the
where...
tire fire, yeah.
It's all good.
It's all good. So yeah, we're going to get that cleaned up, just quickly get that swept out. Luckily the track is dry now, so it'll be easy to soak that fire extinguisher foam up.
Yeah, I really like the idea of that tiny 4-cylinder and pushing it far back or moving it further ahead, and you can play around a lot more with the weight in the car. And I mean, really, you could do all that and then just like extend the exhaust or get a different drive shaft. And I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's going to be easier for him.
Sounds like it's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean maybe for somebody else, not for me, but you could, in theory, really play with the weight of the car by actually shifting that engine further back and further forward. So just a really unique way. I mean, you'd have to move shifter. I know there's a lot of work.
There's a lot of stuff. We're not going to get into the details.
You could do it.
You could do it.
Yeah.
Look, there's more option there than, you've got a big heavy V8 with a turbo in the front of the car and you're stuck with it in one position. And I think, look, I'm all for advancements in the sport and people pushing the sport forward in any way they can, whether it's technology or equipment or, even for what we use here. I love everything to do with drifting, and if people can make moves and push things and push the sport in a different direction, I'm all for it. And I love what Marko Zakaril has done here in this car, and you can see it in his driving. He was absolutely flying earlier in practice. Can he fly right now as he looks for the start line, Marshall Martin, to press that button and get things underway here at round 4. Martin takes a look down the track.
Just waiting for that.
For the signal.
I always wonder what goes through their head in this. You've warmed up the tires, you pulled up to the line, you're staring at Marcin, and it's just waiting for those lights to go. So
there we go, he gets the thumbs up and the button gets pressed. Car slams into gear as Marko Zakaril looks to take his first qualifying run. Look at this, pedaling the car as he fires down the hill through the gears, flicks it to angle. Zacharil, so much pace, the bonnet wants to lift up the car. This is a beautiful line so far. Gets the outside zone nicely as he now flicks it in into this long outside zone, full throttle, front wheel locked up as Zacharil pushes the back end of that 2 Series right where it needs to be. Zacharil looking for the wall as he goes for it. Nice line from the Czech Republic driver as he now puts the bumper to the wall once again and across the line. Zacharil is on form.
Wow, solid run from Marco Zacharil. Just right off it, even as you said, pedaling that car just a little bit, really trying to find the grip in it, using his right foot to get all that traction, and feints the car over and just holds this angle all the way through, even pours on just a bit more to make sure he can get that rear end all the way out to that zone, and then doesn't check up, doesn't slow down until just before the 4th outside zone, which is what the judges are looking for. And look at how calm he is in this car. Oh man, hand over. What a technique to get through that. Some drivers deciding to let go, let the car steer. No, just palms it around like he's back in a trailer. Man, what a solid run. Solid run here. I mean, I love to see it. I love to see any of these drivers really starting to level their game up, qualifying even higher and higher as now we are on a full dry track. At this point, it's all grip, it's all go, and everyone's going to be taking notice. And as long as nothing changes, hopefully this is what we get to see for the rest of this day.
You've said it now.
I know. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah. Touching wood. Here we go. Another 91.5. Incredible. Puts him into second position at the moment. Zacharil looking on fourth. Jason Benet and Marco Zacharil leading qualifying at the moment with 2 incredible scores. We go back to the start line to this man, Juha Pointalaxo, BMW E92. As he comes off the line, 2JZ, engine change this year for this man from Finland as he hammers through the gears. Had a very good practice session. The spotters were very happy as he fires down. Look at that wheel on the line, just a little deep on that inner, but he's making it work. As Pointalaxo now puts the car right where it needs to be, and look at this, absolutely ripping through the circuit. Good pace, good speed as he balances the car, not too much angle, flicks it towards the walls. Juha opens up the throttle in the outside zone, puts the tyres right to the edge of the track and across the line.
Juha had maybe the most consistent practice from this weekend. Every run that I would watch was just consistently the same. It may not have been the fastest or the craziest, but just had the line locked in every single run. And that's really what we're seeing here. Getting a little bit of a wheel hop there, but his line through this run looked really solid. Maybe not the fastest of anybody, but I think he kind of took note and went, okay, I could run this crazy fast, but I'm not being scored on being crazy fast. I'm scored on getting this line, getting this angle, getting a good style all the way through. And Juha, in my opinion, absolutely nailed that. So when you talk about just a very consistent run, this is it for me. This, I feel like, is going to do pretty well within it and is going to get him into the show, hopefully. And we'll see where it goes from there. And maybe we then see the crazy Juha on run 2.
You want to see him come back out for the second run, just, you know, full tilt.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what he does.
It is what he does.
He's dialed things back. I mean, it was his own worst enemy for a long time, where he would try something nuts, just go out and just blow the wheels off of things and get crazy. But I feel like we're seeing a bit more of a grown-up Juha.
Well, and there we go, and it is a grown-up Juha as he puts a 90 dead on the board, drops himself into 3rd position, and we're going to start seeing some big scores drop through as we go back to the line. Naoki Nakamura from Japan, Toyota GR86 on the line, 2JZ underneath the bonnet. 900 horsepower. And Nakamura earlier on in practice choosing to do a lot of initiations rather than completing the full circuit because he wanted to get this dialed. And look at the angle from Nakamura. Pulls it off but misses that inner zone. Now starts to work to get himself back on that qualifying line. Fires through. Look at the pace he's got. He's absolutely ripping through the circuit at the moment as Nakamura flicks that GR86 to angle, flicks it towards the wall. Oh, contact with the wall as Nakamura almost puts himself out of the fight. Hammers the throttle once again across the line.
Talk about a fun run, though.
Oh.
Not technically correct, but I mean, I don't care. Fans don't care.
No, we enjoyed it.
We're just here for something absolutely crazy.
That guy didn't enjoy it.
Nah, well, okay.
He's not impressed.
He's a technical. He's here for the technical side. You'll get that.
He's got a Mustang.
Yeah, that might be what it is. Okay.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Misses a zone completely. Able to get things dialed in for the rest of it, but I do think did he use the rumble strips there? Just absolutely hucking that car out, 90 degrees to the track. you know, just looking out his side window the whole time.
If you look at it from the drone, he missed 2 zones.
I know. But hey, can you make up for line with style? I know the points don't balance out that way, but
No.
look, you can see him smiling. You can see it with his eyes. Just, oh man, what an epic go at that. I mean, tons of angle, tons of style, but lacking a little bit on the line side of things.
Yeah, a few errors coming into there, especially here where he touched the wall quite heavily as well. Look, wheel on the wall. Oh,
Yeah.
Fires rubber in the camera's face. Had to use a handbrake there to adjust as well. So judges won't be liking that. And you know what, Jacob, I'm glad I'm not a judge this weekend because we've got some really impressive driving and some crazy driving and very consistent driving.
Yeah.
Going to be a tough weekend for our judging panel. And this weekend, as always, it'll be Matthias Jedges, Vernon Svanefeld and David Kalas.
Great group of guys.
Great group of guys. Do you know what? They're not as bad as what they seem.
No.
They're in good form this weekend. They're all happy, they're smiling. Even David Kalas said hello to me this morning. You know, never normally does. Looks at me at breakfast, just gives me a one eye across the room as if to say,
You exist.
exactly.
Yeah.
And not forgetting our 4th judge down there on the EVS, giving the judges all the replays, Chris Witowski, our man from VD, from our Driftmasters Virtual Drifting. And the score dropped in there as it was a 78.5.
I believe so, yeah.
So there we go. We're going to go back to the start line to Oran Nilsson. Comes off the line, the man from Norway hammers through the gears as Oran Nilsson puts this big Sora to angle. Now look at this, the body panel's flexing already, and Nilsson right to the edge of the circuit, gets that car where it needs to be, hammers on the throttle, looking good so far as Nilsson. This is very nice from Oran Nilsson. He's come out here swinging before an island, and he said he loves this circuit. Oh, look at that spoiler flexing along the wall as Nilsson goes for it, right to the edge of the circuit. You couldn't get closer if you tried.
Wow, Oran Nilsson, very smooth, buttery smooth. I mean, if you put a drink in the cup holder, I don't think it would have spilled on that entire run.
Not a drop.
So buttery smooth with that entire thing, but still flirting with danger at every single zone, every turn, getting the car to angle like so quick, but like, look at this, just hanging on, gets that car out. I don't see any adjustments in that front wheel through that zone, floats it all the way out. What a great run here from Oran. Man, I just look at flirting with danger there. Nice little backfire.
Look at that.
Guidelines all the way through. Said, oh, you want edge of the zone? Okay, let me show you where the edge of the zone is. Through all the rest of this, and then touching the wall. Big car there. Lots of overhang. You know, it's the family-sized Supra, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, able to get through and just touch it. Oh man, so technically proficient through this entire run. Gets on throttled, enough grip dialed in that pops the front end up. Oran Nilsson really showing.
Wow, well, look at that, rewarded. The man from Norway, a 95 dead on the board for Oran Nilsson as he puts himself into first position, and he's done it before here in Mondello. Looks to get the job done. Look at this, cool, calm and collected as he fires through the gears, flicks that GR86 to angle, little dab of the handbrake as he now puts the car right where it needs to be. We spoke about this man's line driving before. He's absolutely technically advanced. He puts it where it needs to be, right to the edge of the circuit. And look at this, once again, another driver that's found the limits. Right to the wall he goes as Pashkonsky puts the back bumper along the wall, puts the rear wheel on the white line and across the line. And now we're in for a treat, Mondello Park.
It is getting wild. These scores are going to keep going up, and it's going to get even tighter as we get through this first set of runs here in qualifying. Jakub Pazunski, what I like is that, as you said, he's very technical. It's mathematical. He was even asking the judges, how do you want me to go from zone to zone? I know you want me, this is what you want in the zone. Where do you want me between the zones? Which is something most drivers just go, I'll get to that part, you know, I'll deal with that part. But he wants to know that. But what I do like and what has changed about him, especially over this year, is that he's adding more style, he's adding more flair, and it looks like just having more fun.
Yeah.
Right? And really loving the sport and loving the competition. And when you've driven so many different things and been at such a high level of competition, it becomes like clocking into work. And what we're starting to see here is that now it's partying with friends. It's going out and touring with your buddies, and that is what is needed to get those style points and get those angle points, because line can only take you so far, but style is more of a feeling. And you can start to see this through these runs where he's enjoying it and really challenging himself, which is so great to see and is going to start reflecting a lot of these scores.
Wow, and there we go, a 96 for Pashkonsky as he jumps himself into first place.
There it is.
Look at there it is. 19
out of 20 on angle. That is not something you would have normally seen. Man. And like the tiniest of corrections on that front wheel, but man,
no
just
words
splitting hairs.
for that. No words for that shot. Right. Big shoes to fill. The scores are pumping up. Can they keep them going as we go back to the start line? It's going to be Mika Keskikorpi from Finland in this BMW F22 Eurofire off the line. BMW turbo engine underneath the bonnet, making 900 horsepower, but what can it do? He fires through, wheel on the curb, but looking good so far from this young man. Problems with the car yesterday in practice, said it felt like it had half the power because he had a wastegate issue. Now it looks like there's no such problems with power as Keskikorpi starts to navigate his way around Mondello Park, puts a rear wheel to the line, bumper towards the wall. He looks for that final zone and gets the job done.
I don't know if his spotter or anybody called him and said, just listen, there was a 96 before you. But Mika Keskikorpi just on it. And look, unless it's perfect, his team's not impressed.
Even if it's perfect, these Finnish guys, they rarely smile.
They just keep pushing for it.
Yeah.
And he's one of the first drivers that's dealing with an issue that a lot of drivers have talked to me about, which is the amount of smoke that they're making now.
Yep.
And how fast these cars are going. That smoke wall from that first outside zone is actually meeting them as they get into the later parts of this track. And the wall being white, the smoke being white, it gets very difficult to line up. You can see even through here, the camera having to punch through the smoke. Great transition for Keskikorpi. And then now, it's really tough to see through that section.
Yeah.
The smoke's starting to blow back this way as it comes down the chute and into that last zone. So Mika, though, I mean, just driving through instinct. What a great run. 89.5. Can't be upset with that.
No, he certainly won't be upset with that, that's for sure. Jacob puts himself into 6th position and we start to ramp up the scores. We go back to the start line to 2024's Rookie of the Year, Connor Falvey from Cork, 2JZ, 950 horsepower, carbon Kevlar S15. Teaming up with Drift Games once again for 2025. Connor Falvey comes off the line, done something very, very impressive practice runs earlier on. A lot of pressure on this young man's shoulders this weekend. All eyes set on him. The crowd were applauding him earlier. And look at the flex on the front bumper. Wheel on the curb. He's dealt with it right now as Connor Falvey puts that car where it needs to be. Dials himself into this outside zone. On the throttle nice and early. A little touch and left foot brake to get the back end to stick to the white line as he now flicks it towards the wall. And look at that, flexes the spoiler, disposes of a tail light as Connor Falvey puts that car right on the edge of the circuit and across the line.
Falvey's taillight budget, I think, is most teams' entire budget for a year.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about it.
Those are not cheap taillights. Falvey, though, family's stoked. I mean, he has stepped up every single event. We're watching a driver grow and develop in front of us. Started off with just a nasty flick and initiation there, and just crushing it all the way through this run. 67 degrees coming through that part and just on throttle all the way through. No signs of slowing down. The only reason he decels before outside zone 4 is because the judges told him he had to. He would have been on throttle all the way through there, given the opportunity, and just very stable and very committed all the way. Tons of throttle through these transitions, coming off just a bit to get the car to hook, and then look at this. Fighting that car through, just all it wants to do is launch off, and Connor Falvey wrestles it all the way through the zone. Man, what an incredible job from such an amazing driver. And you forget about his age because he drives like he's twice it.
You certainly do, yeah. I mean, look, 17 years old, one of the youngest drivers on the grid. What could he do in qualifying, though? This is a big score, home track for Connor Falvey, and it's a 92.5. Falvey puts himself into 3rd position at the moment with a huge score straight out the bat, and we've got some big scores coming in. Qualifying on the second runs is going to be very, very interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, Connor Falvey with tied right now with Mika Keskikorpi for the most average angle through a run.
Wow.
49.5 degrees.
Well, there we go, back on the line. Juha Rittinen from Finland, 42 years old, one of the oldest drivers on the grid, but old means knowledge as he comes through the gears. 1,002 horsepower in this Toyota GR86, 2JZ powered as he flicks it to angle. And look at this from Rittinen. He's a man that knows every single inch of every racetrack around Europe. He gets himself into that outside zone with a beautiful line, maybe a different line on the foot brake, trying to push the back end, that GR86 where it needs to be, on that perfect qualifying line at the moment as Juha Rittinen puts a rear wheel into the zone, and across the line goes Rittinen from Finland.
Yeah, crazy run. Finding a different way to go at a few of these zones, which is really nice to see. He had a couple of crazy situations in practice, but trying different things and trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to make it different and really getting that car out to angle. Look, it's grinding that side skirt. Shows you how much weight and compression and G-force those cars are going through. And when he gets out to the outside zone 4, dipping a wheel off track and then back on it at the last second to get through it. So I don't know if that's exactly what he was aiming for, but trying to go as deep as he can through every one of these zones.
They're certainly so, and Rinton looking dialed, and for me it was the angle. If you watched on the replay, from initiation to outside zone 3, barely changed the angle on the steering wheel. Had it settled, didn't catch any understeer. Where a lot of these guys are, you know, I spoke to a few of the drivers, they're saying inside zone 2, they're taking off a bit of lock, then coming back on to deal with the understeer. You watch Rinton and it didn't happen. Stayed on that perfect line, on angle, didn't touch the steering wheel. Well, I mean, he did, but
yeah, I mean,
he didn't adjust the steering wheel.
I think you have to touch it, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I mean, I could see him just driving with his right foot. I could see him hands off the steering wheel and just using the throttle to get the car around the track.
Yep. But there we go. Good score. Judges not liking it as much as us, though. And 86 on the ball dead for Juha Rinton. Puts him in 12th position at the moment. And maybe wheels off where you said going into outside zone 4 might have been the key point there. And judges nodding to us. We go back on the line. The man from Poland, Piotr Wajcik, right now, Supra Mark 5. Now A90 Supra slots into gear as Wajcik, a little incident yesterday, took the car off track into the wall. Not too much damage, though. Just some cosmetic stuff for the team to repair overnight. Now looking solid this weekend. Look at that, the way it flicks to angle as Wajcik puts that car on that last line. Look at that, rear wheels along the edge of the circuit. That was beautiful from Wajcik. Oh man, the way he got that car onto throttle straight away in that zone. This is absolutely beautiful from Piotr Wajcik right now. Tail lights towards the wall, but no damage sustained as he puts the bumper towards the wall once again. And Wajcik through there so fast.
There are so many parts of that run I thought he was going to crash.
He was so fast through that run.
Absolutely nuts. Honestly, I thought he was going to crash on several occasions. Just at initiation, through the gate, rowing through the gears, just cranking it. And then right here, I was like, he's got too much speed. He can't float it out. And then able to catch the car. And it's just so perfect. Man, Piotr Wajcik, like just absolute legend through. Look at the stare through this zone. Does he blink at any point during that run? Just that 1,000-yard stare all the way through, just looking for the finish line going, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to push this through because, man, what a run.
Did you just see that on the replay? He touched the handbrake for like a millisecond.
It was nothing. It was just to settle the car.
Watch this as he comes into the outside zone. Ready? Boom,
That's it. Oh, so many drivers are having to drag it to get the car settled.
Yeah.
Not here.
Peter's like on, off.
Oh, man, and this is the fastest so far. 144 kilometers an hour coming into that.
You could tell, like, the speed throughout the run was just incredible. The way he was able to pick up the throttle so early and that car responded to it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful to watch.
Yeah, he's averaging 2 kilometers an hour faster than anybody else through this track.
Wow.
Wild. Speed's not a score, but for me, I mean, it wins in my heart.
Yeah, it certainly does. So here we go. Scores dropping in. What's it going to be? It's a 99.5! Are you serious? It looked beautiful. It was beautiful. Piotr Wajcik just blew the doors completely off of round 4 here in Ireland. I am speechless, Jacob.
I just want to know where he lost 0.5 on angle. Like, I didn't see it. But what an epic run. Wow.
Well, I mean, where do you go from that? The question is asked to Kevin Passer right now. The Estonian driver pulls up to the line. He says, look, just a 90 will do me, just to get me in the top half of the show. It's not been such good luck since round 1 in Spain from the Estonian driver as he flicks this BMW 2 Series into action. Picks up the throttle nice and early now as Kevin Passer manages his way, balances the car around the circuit here in County Kildare, puts the car where it needs to be. Nice line, but big handbrake drag into the outside zone as Kevin Passer now puts his bumper towards the wall, wheel along the line and across the line, a job done.
Man, just pushing all the way through, and another driver that's been able to get this very smooth and consistent all the way through practice, going a little bit hard there on the initiation, cutting it just a little bit tight. But look at how stable he looks through here, and then he sees very early on where his line's at, able to make the correction very quickly with a bit of a left foot handbrake.
Left foot handbrake.
He might have. He's flexible
do
man.
some stuff, these drivers.
It's nuts. You know, cross-legged. the footwork is just getting absurd at this point. But yeah, Kevin Passer does such a phenomenal job of making that correction, not making it too obvious, and then more than makes up for it through the rest of this run. And just really neat to see how consistent he's been coming off the last event, doing quite well and able to push through. A driver that a couple of years ago, I mean, you talk about Kevin Passer and go like, he's starting to fight for this championship. He's in this championship race. And it's like, For sure he is. You see the way he's been driving and the way he's been progressing throughout the season. It's making sense, and he's really putting it down, especially on this qualifying run.
He certainly is putting it down. A few mistakes creeping in, though. You know, we see almost perfection, 88.5 for Kevin Purcell. We see, you know, near perfection the run before, and you kind of, you watch the next run, you say, I can see where the mistakes are creeping in now. The big handbrake drags, the transition points, you know, missing those zones or not being as deep in those zones. Pavel Korbalinski now asked the question, sits on the line, 2JZ, Nissan 206, S14 comes off the line. And rose through the gears, and another man that's absolutely clinical when it comes to line driving. Beautiful initiation, wheel up on the curb, but it's not going to disturb him as Pavel Korbalinski now puts that car right where it needs to be. And look at this, on the throttle nice and early, another driver picking up the throttle early into that long outside zone and then consistently staying on it, flicks the car from left to right, smashes the back end into the wall with Pavel Korbalinski, uses the tailgate as an air brake to slow him down across the line.
Yeah, it's a bold move to do that, but somehow had it in him. I'll smash the bumper real quick. I'm a little quick to this run.
Chevron?
Just something a little air down there. You know, turning DRS off throughout this run. But Pavel Korbalinski, very smooth throughout the entire run, pushing it out to all the zones and just, I mean, good speed, good pace throughout this entire thing. I mean, it'd be a lovely run to chase. If I was a chase driver and this is out in front of me, I would absolutely be so stoked to see it. Pushing that angle out nice and wide throughout this section, maybe a touch more than what the judges were really wanting. They don't want it to. They don't want you over rotating through that section. They want you to stay on throttle and push all the way through. But yeah, just a solid run here. I mean, it's incredibly difficult, as we said. After seeing what was near perfection earlier on from Piotr Vincek, these drivers have so much more to live up for, but there's still spots that come in, and perfection is still yet to be obtained. So there is more that you can push for in this run.
0.5.
Yeah, 0.5. And it's on angle. That's it. You need a little bit more angle. I don't know where, but the judges do apparently.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to ask them afterwards.
Yeah, we'll get into that discussion after. An 86 dead on the board there, Pavel Korbalinski. So judges saying out of zone 6.
That was it. He had a bit more angle.
A bit more angle there. Well, a man that's not scared of any angle, speed, or qualifying scores for any of that of the above is Jack Shanahan. Slams the door closed on his Toyota GT86 and slots it into gear as he lights the tyres off the line. The man from Ireland, 900 horsepower, 2JZ underneath the bonnet in his Toyota GT86, said he's got so much grip in the car. Oh, it's a big mistake though. Can't hold on to it.
What a send. Maybe he was looking for that 0.5.
Throws his hands in the air, so I wonder if there's an issue with the car.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You can see a bit of windshield damage. That was from earlier on in practice where the hood decided it was going to make a grand appearance, but really interesting to see what happens. Even at the beginning of the feint, it didn't look as aggressive as normal.
Here we go, look.
Yeah, that
car just snaps to angle.
So much of it. I mean, tried to save it, but completely blew out that zone. That's weird. I think he might have been able to save it, but even at the feint, look, it was very subtle, and the car grips there and then has to almost initiate a second time. Very strange from Jack Shanahan.
Yeah, uncharacteristic. We've seen Jack Shanahan throw some crazy moves here in Mondello Park before, but doesn't look like he gets on the curbs. Just looked like the car reacted completely different to how he assumed it was going to. You can see that full compression there, the tyres tucked up into those rear quarter panels. And Jack Shanahan go back to the pits. He'll be an angry man for now, that's for sure. But we keep the action moving as we go back to the line. Itay Seda in this BMW E46 with an M2 body kit. Now, I may say they are an M2 or an F22. Some of these cars are replicas.
Right.
As he comes off the line. Itay Seda doing an incredible job at round 1 now, looking for a little bit of redemption, looking good this weekend as he flicks that car to angle. Very nice line at the moment for Itay Seda, but he grabs a load of understeer and he's going to just about keep it out of the wall. Wow, and what a save from that young man. Now, what has happened down there? Is there something on the circuit?
Yeah.
Oh, and it looks like maybe, I'm being told maybe a D-bead.
Okay. Judges going through those replays, it looks like Itay.
Yeah.
He's okay, that's the biggest thing, but yeah, that is a spooky situation. When you're coming down with that much speed, that is not a fun time to realize that car is not going the direction you want it to.
Was it a front D-bead?
Front left.
Yeah. That would be one of the main reasons. Yeah, we're going to take a look at this front wheel. Here we go, look. Yes.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Front D-bead.
And that shows you how much compression is going on, yeah.
And we've seen it in the slow-mos, previously to these runs. The car comes over the hill, the trailing wheel is off the tarmac.
Yeah.
So all of the weight is on that front tyre. If you get a D-bead, you're a passenger.
There's nothing
because
you can
it's
do at that
rim
point.
to tarmac. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you add like a left foot brake or something as our media team getting
media
out of the
team.
way. They're on it.
They're on it.
They're very much on it. But wow, I mean, that is about as spooky as things get for a driver.
Yeah, well, there we go. And it's going to be a 0 there for It's a set of 2 zeros back to back. For me, you know, in your head, you think there's got to be something on the track there. There's got to be something down the track. Look, our track staff are on it. They've been on it all weekend, and they would have seen it way before I would have noticed it. But no, it is a front DB. There we go. Laurie Heinen now sits on the line, the Finnish driver. The defending champion sits on the line a little nervous, a little twitchy in the car, grabs a hold of the steering wheel, goes to slam the visor shut as he slots that car into gear. Tail lights missing as we see our FPV drone balancing behind. He's going to chase down Laurie Heinen throughout this run. What can Heinen do? He knows the bar has been set by Wycheck. He's going to hammer through the gears. This man yesterday apparently had the perfect run. Well, can he replicate that right now as Laurie Heinen puts the car right where it needs to be, but he's wide. And the car didn't react, it didn't grip on the outside zone 3, but nevertheless he gets himself back into it as the Finnish driver now balances this NASCAR V8 Pro-charged S13 around the circuit, foot flat to the floor as it screams across the line.
I don't know of a driver that makes more smoke than Laurie Heinen. Like, completely blanks out the back of that car, absolutely rolling, and that is some frustration. He knows that was not a perfect run, that is not up to his standards by any means. Putting the front wheels through a zone that is meant for the rear wheels, but just a ton of speed coming through there, and the car does not react, does not grip up in the way that he was hoping for. As we get the brown cloud pushing out, showing just how wide he went through that section, and that's starting to rut out a little bit.
Yeah.
It could get pretty nasty. Look at the big e-brake pull there.
Yeah.
And he knows before he even gets into that zone that he's not in the correct spot. Grabbing another gear. He comes back through.
Interesting, you can see him staring over, trying to slow the car down because he knew he was on that wrong line. But judges saying to me in the headset that it was almost 3 wheels off, but they are going to give Laurie Heinen a score. It was only 2 wheels off, so it will be still a score for Heinen. Otherwise, it would have been a 0. You know what? I think these guys are coming out swinging because they've seen now. You know, we've had a whole bunch of 90s and high 80s coming in. The second run of qualifying is going to be very mixed because we've got a lot of drivers sitting on 0s where they had the patch of rain or, you know, they threw the car off circuit. Jack Shanahan, for instance, Ite said it. I think the second round of qualifying here, round 4 of Drift Masters, is going to be a kind of sit on the edge of your sofa moment because I think there's going to be some incredible scores going through and some guys with a point to prove.
Yeah, and if you're a Jack Shanahan, you have to think, okay, how hard do I want to push on this? And for him, it is very difficult for him to rein things back and go, I'm going to do something safe. He is not known for being a safe driver, but that might be the play that he has to make is just try and get like an 85 or maybe a 90 on the board, which, I mean, that's a safe run for a Jack Shanahan.
Exactly that. Well, we go back on the line to the man from Norway, Tor Arne Kavir, the Norwegian sledgehammer, sits on the line, 1UZ V8 turbo, underneath the bonnet, 950 horsepower, this S13. He comes through the gears. Every driver saying that last night he was the man with all eyes set on him as he puts that car to angle. And look at the line from Kavir, absolutely flying so far on the podium in Finland. He wants to be back on the podium again. He said he feels that momentum, he feels comfortable back in the championship, and he told me he's back, baby. No messing around for the Norwegian sledgehammer as he puts the bumper to the wall, but no damage sustained as now Kavir opens up the throttle, looks for that line, looks for that outer zone, he gets the job done.
Yeah, Kavir was doing some incredibly interesting and very risky things to do an initiation, which I don't think we really saw here. I think he's going to save it for the second run. So make sure when Tor comes up, pay very careful attention to his initiation. So shockingly, this was a safer initiation from him, but still a great run as we see a bit of a correction there to get the car pushed out really wide. Full commitment throughout this entire run, but Tor, I really do think he's trying to get something on the board, make sure he's in through qualifying, seeing a couple of zeros ahead of him going, okay, I need to make sure I'm in the show. And if he pulls out what he was doing in practice, we're in for a real treat. But a solid run here from Torne Kavia, an absolute legend in Norwegian drifting, and just a downright great guy to hang out with.
Oh, an incredible guy to hang out with. He's always got a smile on his face, regardless of what happens on the track or, you know, behind the scenes. And he's always happy to be. He's always happy to be in a drift car, and he loves being a drift master.
Yeah.
And Kavir, this, you know, for me, very interested. 4th in the championship at the moment. He's ahead of Laurie Heinen in points.
Yeah, so really interesting, and there we go.
A 93 on the board, 4th position for Torane Kavia. I mean, if that's a 55% run, what does a 90% run look like?
I hate to say it, I think it is. I think
that's a 50% run.
He's got more.
Yeah, I think he has got more. Well, the door slam shut on this Mustang RTR Spec 5 DM for James Dean as he comes over the hill. The legend, the myth, the machine, as he works his way through the gears, as James Dean pilots his Mustang down the hill. We witnessed the first runs ever at Mondello Park in this car just yesterday, and now he puts it on display, on show for you guys in attendance and at home as James Dean works his way around Mondello. He knows this track like the back of his hand. Look at this on the throttle nice and early. You would have seen his good friend Peter Wojcik put a 99 on the board, but what does Dean do?
Oh, man. Hey, listen, no matter what, if he would have just driven through the course, the crowd here is going to erupt anyways. Absolute legend in the motorsport and just a hero here, an icon. And James Dean, admittedly, in practice, really having to get this car dialed, working with a lot of different things, trying a few different things to get the car to do exactly what he wants, and a little bit tight on that first inside clip, but then the rest of this run, all classic James Dean. Tons of throttle, tons of engine noise, very stable, lacing that car through all the zones, and look at this, just hucking that angle out, flicks it back around on throttle the entire time. Very tricky to do, but as you said, James Dean, I think he was basically raised here at this point.
Yeah, he might as well have been born here and
Yeah.
just lived here, because he's drove this track more than anyone else and had probably more success and more podiums here than any other driver in Ireland. Look at that, absolute beautiful there from James Dean as he just touches the bumper off the wall in almost both spots. And for me, a few mistakes creeping in. I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but there were some mistakes crept in there for James Dean. So I think that's going to be the score. It just hurt a little bit, ever so slightly, but nevertheless a very good score indeed. And it will be a 91.5 for James Dean, drops him into 7th position at the moment, and we're already seeing 10 drivers now. Yeah, 10 drivers with a 90 points score on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely shades of Finland all over again.
Yeah,
and
we certainly are getting the finish.
the finish effect?
The finish effect,
There
yeah.
it is,
There we
yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah. Well, we go back on the line. Oliver Randalou still sitting in that championship contention. Second place at the moment, the man from Estonia, M50 turbo underneath the bonnet, 900 horsepower for this BMW E46 as he slams through the gears. And Randalou said he's feeling good, looking confident. Can he make it work right now? It looks very nice so far as he locks up that front brake, pushes the back end of BMW to the edge of the circuit, now wakes his way into this outside zone. Very nice line there, a little different to most other drivers, but makes it work as Randalou looks out the side window, flicks that car to big angle. Oh, and he's almost overcompensated there a little bit, goes a wheel over the edge of the circuit, but keeps it clean for the rest of the run.
What's really cool about his car and the way he's got it set up is how it catches.
Yeah.
So he gets into a zone, gets on throttle, and it immediately gets stable. Whereas some cars that get on throttle and kind of moves around a little bit, but with Randalou, it doesn't do that. He gets on throttle, the car's right where he wants it to be, and he's able to kind of push through the rest of that zone. So looks good coming over the hill, a little bit tight on that, but right there, that's what I mean. He was about to go off track, and a lot of other cars, given that same scenario, they would get on throttle and the car might actually move back a little bit. His is immediately locked in. It's like it's on rails as soon as he wants it to be. So it really just comes down to timing for him, and little bit hairy there through that section, and that was kind of it. Maybe on the inside clip, just a bit tight, and then through here, the car doesn't, I mean, I wouldn't even say the car, it's just his timing on it is not quite where he wants it to be, but when he does get on throttle, it locks back in, able to get through the rest of the zone. So shouts out to his team for setting it up that way.
Oh, yeah.
They did such a good job.
Exactly that, and the problem is that now a lot of marbles forming on the outside edge of that zone. So as soon as you drop a wheel in there, you kind of lose even more traction. 82.5 from the man from Estonia was Oliver Randalou. Gets the first score on the board, and we go to our championship points leader at the moment, Connor Shanahan, Toyota GT86, a Red Bull driver, sits in the car, a lot of nerves on his shoulder, another man that's known for having some relentless chases and battles around this circuit, and now puts that car to work as he slams it through the gears. Shanahan puts it right where it needs to be, and this is beautiful from Shanahan. Look at this, wheels right to the edge of the circuit, nice and early. Oh, and he's on throttle even earlier than anyone else. Look at this, as the smoke erupts from the back of this Toyota GT86. That 2JZ singing 1,000 horsepower out from underneath the bonnet as he puts the car right to the edge of the circuit. Wheel on the line, across the line from Connor Shanahan. Wow.
Holy cow, Ian, that was epic. I mean, there's the spotter right there. I don't know what else you could have done, man. That was absolutely epic from Connor Shanahan. The amount of angle he's getting out of this car, well,
as me and Jacob, well, we are
Yeah.
You know, we're fans of sport. We gold buzzer moment, me and Dave used to say, and I think that gold buzz back. David Callas saying to me, outside zone 3 was a big deduction there. You know, wheels over that white line. You can't be doing that. You know, if you watch Peter's run back, it was, you know, wheels perfectly on the line. So here we go. This is how qualifying looks at the moment. Piotr Wojciech from Poland, 99.5. Jakub Brzezowski from Poland, a 96 dead. And then we get into the Norwegians, Oren Nilsson and Tor Annika Via, 95 and a 93. The rookie from 2024, 5th place at the moment for 92.5. And then we start working our way down the order. James Dean in the fight in 7th. We get through. Look at that wildcard driver, Harry Kerr in the mix, an 89.5. Jarkko Jula from Finland, an 88.
Wild. And you see these big blocks of the Irish drivers, you traditionally think, oh, the Irish drivers are going to do really well here, but top 4.
No, and there we go. Look at that. 20th place at the moment. Simon Olsen with an 83. Juha Rittinen in the mix there with an 86. Chris Brady, a wildcard driver, also in the mix there. We get now down to the lower end. Ryan Hughes from Great Britain in the mix as well, as we start to see the usual contenders find their way in on all of the wildcards. Look like they qualified, and bar Amanda Sorensen, unfortunately. And there we go. The guys that are out at the moment. 33rd place, Diogo Correa, Sorensen, Diego Sato, Egan, Shanahan, Fionn Roche, Ite, and Christoforou, all out on a 0. Crazy. So there's some work to be done for some of these drivers here. I think we're going to see some big scores start to creep in as we now, no rest, straight back into it. If you thought you were going to have a breather, well, there is no chance. Get another refreshment, sit on the edge of your sofa, because that's all you're going to need, as things are going to heat up here in Ireland as we now start to put the cat amongst the pigeons. Tomas Kiley knows the track is full dry. It's an 88 on his first qualifying run. What can he do? He comes off the line to JT. Nissan 180SX as he screams, look at that, slots of gear and puts a big clutch kick in as he fires that car through. Wow, and that is incredible from Kiley as he's absolutely dialed. Tomas Kiley puts that car into that outside zone, is screaming through as he hammers the throttle through the floor as far as it'll go, as he now puts the back end of that car towards the wall. Looks for the rear wheel to the white line, back bumper on the wall once again as Tomas Kiley stands on the foot brake across the line.
Ah, there it is. I was waiting for somebody to bust one
Someone
out.
was going to do it.
It was going to happen. Look, when you're sitting on an 88.5, when you're sitting right now locked into it, why not just throw it? Why not have a good time? And this, to me, is like a party run. This is the run that you text one of your buddies and say, hey, where are you standing on track? Because I'm going to go throw something epic. Tomas Kiley having fun, enjoying the run, and just showing why this track is such a cool track, why it's so dynamic. Look at the work he's doing in the car. Getting around, filling the zones, tons of smoke, big wing on the car, 360. What else could you want in a lap? Man.
Fireworks.
Can we? Is that something? Who do I
Tell you
call?
what, if you come to the PG Narodowy in Poland for the Red Bull Drift Masters final, I've been told there's going to be everything from lights, fireworks, the whole lot.
I think I'll be there.
Yeah,
I believe I'll be there.
There's even going to be a crazy halftime show that we was told about.
Oh, all right.
If you haven't got your tickets, get online now. Head over to dm.gp. Grab your tickets for the final at the PG Narodowy in Warsaw.
Oh,
look at that.
Taking the camera down.
Took the camera down, and I think he snapped the camera pole on his own car as well at the same time. Look at that shot. Absolutely beautiful. And look at the concentration from Tomas Kiley's face as he looks out the window.
Yeah, that's a driver that's having fun, and you can feel it from the outside. When somebody is driving like that, you can tell that when they're angry, you can tell when they're happy. That was a fun run.
I want to see where he drops in though. What did the judges think of it? Because from me and you, from our point of view, and from probably everyone here and everyone sitting at home, it was an incredible run. Where did it drop him in? And there we go, a 94 on the board for Tomas Kiley. The wildcard driver for this weekend jumps himself way up the order.
Crazy.
And into the show. We go back on the start line. It's going to be Chris Brady in this incredible carbon Kevlar S15. And Chris Brady, an 80.5 on his first qualifying run. 23rd place at the moment. What can he do to improve as he now stands on the throttle through the gears? Goes Brady. Nothing to lose for this Irishman as he puts in a nice initiation. A little settled for Brady. Puts the car where it needs to be, though. Doesn't want to do anything too crazy in his second qualifying run. Maybe he just wants to move himself up the order as Brady now works his way around the outside zone, looks for the transition, flicks that car to angles. He flicks it now towards the wall. Tentative, though, from Brady on the handbrake as he now opens up the throttle once again, looks for that final outside zone across the line.
I love how loose he's got this car set up.
Yeah.
And you can, we talked about it on his first run, you can feel and see that body roll coming over, but for some drivers, they love driving cars like this. It can give you the ability to do some really unique things when you get that much weight transfer on the car. Look at the wheel tucking as he comes to that compression zone into our second outside zone. Oh man, so much fun for Chris Brady, who's he's got the car. This is a kind of a classic qualifying setup. Get the car loose, get it floating around, have a ton of fun. You can see how much weight transfer front to back, side to side. It's like they broke the knob off on full soft on the suspension. So
you know what? Make it easy to drive. You know, you're not going out there battling anyone. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Make the car easier to drive. Put on a show. Still have, you know, a fair amount of grip in the car, but not too much. An 84.5 on his second qualifying score, so he does improve ever so slightly. Chris Brady, by the looks of things, will be in the show for tomorrow as we go back to the start line to Ryan Hughes, the man from Great Britain. Toyota GT 862 JZ, thumbs up to the camera, slams the door closed, slams the car into gear as Ryan Hughes lights up the tyres on this Toyota GT86, looking cool, calm and collected as he slams through the gears. Big clutch kick from Ryan Hughes. He knows what he needs to do. Nice line so far from Ryan Hughes. Those first qualifying jitters out of the way. Those nerves settled off now as he knows he's got a score on the board. Could he qualify here? His first ever time at Drift Masters. He puts the car right to the edge of the circuit. Hughes looks for the wall, a little tentative again on the handbrake. Sacrificed a little line in the outside zone, but now Hughes goes for that final zone and across the line. Yeah,
stepped up on this one for sure. And it'd be interesting to see how the judges look at this and if it's going to be an increase in score, because right now, sitting in 25th, so getting near the bubble, if it's not an improvement, it could get a little bit dicey, because we know a lot of these scores are going to go up. We got a bunch of drivers sitting on zeros, really good drivers sitting on zeros too. I mean, this could be spicy. I mean, a 78.5. In a lot of times, you can relax on that. I really don't think that's the case right now.
No, I don't think you can come out for your second qualifying run this weekend now. I think Becky said it earlier, it's very unpredictable.
Right.
You know, I mean, we could get rain any moment. I think you've got to come out, take the opportunity. If the track's dry, go for it. Try and bang that 90 to 100-point run, you know, out and secure a spot for tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
You can't come out here at half throttle.
Yeah, and really, Ryan Hughes, I mean, adds a little bit to it. It's going to be close.
Certainly is going to be close, and judges not liking it as much as we did. Jacob, that's for sure. Moving along the order to Kevin Quinn now in this Nissan S15, and definitely work to be done for this man. He's on the drop zone at the moment, 71 dead on the board, so Kevin Quinn needs to jump himself up the order. Now we see that mistake going into outside zone 6. What can Quinn do as he comes through the start line, through the gears as he hammers the rev limiter, a big clutch kick across the circuit, keeping it within the constraint zone. Now fires through, very nice line, a lot tidier than it was on the first one, a little wobble, but deals with it as Kevin Quinn on the handbrake for a long time, slows that car down and sacrifices that line. On the throttle once again, big clutch kicks from Kevin Quinn as he puts the car right to the edge of the circuit, flicks it up towards the wall as Quinn now on the throttle nice and early, big clutch kick once again, trying to come up that hill and across the finish line from the Northern Irishman.
Yeah, not too bad, but you can feel a little bit of hesitation with it, where he's maybe not trusting either himself or the car a little bit, where we needed a little bit more commitment. I don't know if he spooked himself on initiation, because it looked really good off the bat. He looked fast, he looked very committed throughout this section, gets on throttle, starts to push that car out nice and wide, but a couple of the other zones, it felt like he wasn't quite sure what he needed to do, or freaked out that maybe he was going to make another mistake, but getting a little bit shallow through this zone, back on throttle, and then adds that extra bit of angle, and it really wasn't a bad run by any means, but as we start to see the scores increase, you need to be on it. You have to be on it. Your line score has to be almost perfect, at 50 or above at least, to really get through this. Making up for it in a lot of ways with the angle and the style, but line holds such an important factor and so much weight on this track.
It certainly does, and we're already breaching the 70s on the cut-off point, so I think the way things are going to improve and the way the scores are going to jump up now, especially as looks like we could get a full dry circuit for the rest of qualifying. 77.5, he does move himself up the order as Kevin Quinn looks to try and keep himself in the show tomorrow. We go back on the line. Amanda Sorensen from America, Toyota GT86. Family affair this weekend. We mentioned it earlier. Her brother Brandon and Cameron with her this weekend, supporting her along, and she's got Connor Shanahan giving her all the help and tips that they can as she jumps into a brand new car, a new power plant, new tyres, a new country, a new whole style of drifting as Sorensen fires down on the throttle nice and early. This is a lot nicer than the first qualifying run. As Sorensen opens up the throttle, big clutch kick, dials herself into this outside zone. That's beautiful from Amanda Sorensen. It's absolutely perfectly timed. Look at this, stays right to the edge of the track, flicks it through a little shallow angle, but now works her way into this outside zone, drops a wheel on the edge of the track, goes for the wall, another wheel over the line and across the line.
Yeah, really going for it on this run. You could feel it as soon as she came off the line, knowing that there's a lot of weight right now, having to represent, having to hold it down for for everybody. I mean, this is such a spicy run. Really going for it, coming out through that line, throws it out tons of angle, and you can see her just working that car. And this is somebody, once again, who she dropped her visor mid-run there too. This outside zone looked really good, and then starts to push just a bit wide, and I think maybe losing a bit of traction by touching onto the concrete, and then through this transition, things look good. Having to re-grip the wheel, and then back around, and it's a lot of it is just knowing where everything is in the car too. You might expect your shifter to be in a slightly different spot than where it is because of how much you drive a different car, but I really like the way that she's able to get through this. Has a couple of mistakes, but able to push through it, able to make the corrections without zeroing out the run or doing anything absurd. And look at the speed and commitment coming through there, and just not able to get quite the angle, that last outside zone, and then really pushing it. I thought it was going into the wall at this point, but able to keep things nice and tidy through the last section of the track.
Yeah, well, there we go. It's going to be a 69 dead, same score again. Unfortunately, we're going to lose Amanda Sorensen in qualifying. Didn't manage to improve on the score, and I'm looking at the monitor right now, and Laurie Heinonen is in the drop zone with a 73.5.
Wow.
So now the cutoff is a 73.5, and whoever advances on that will push Laurie Heinonen out of qualifying. So he will have to do it all on his second qualifying run. Diego Saito now sits on the line as Saito comes off the line in this incredible Mark 5 Toyota Supra, flicks it from left to right, those big 20-inch wheels spinning as he puts that car to angle. Wow, that was beautiful from Saito as he now works his way around, puts it back on angle again. He's going to get it into that zone. That was such a snappy, fast transition from Saito as he now opens up the throttle once again. You can hear him working that car into the groove, into the pocket, as he puts the back end of that Supra right towards the wall on the foot brake. As he finishes the run, that was beautiful from Saito.
This is why he's a legend of the sport. I mean, really, really far back with his first score, knowing that he's got to throw it in, but doesn't sacrifice anything, doesn't sacrifice any of his style or commitment. If anything, just doubles down on it. I thought he was going off track here. I thought he was going off track on outside zone 4, but it looks like he's like threading a needle the way that he's able to get the car to go where he wants it to go. Just a little bit inside on there, and then starts to push the car out even wider through this section, but so much speed. I don't know how we scrubbed it through going into this zone and then lights it back off, because that was a spot he was struggling with in practice.
Yeah.
Giant wheels, not a ton of sidewall. That car does not want to bite sideways, but adjusts his timing, adjusts his throttle commitment to get the car to not shoot off track, because so many other cars, so many other drivers would have been into the gravel and into somebody's lap at that point in the lap. So great job from Diego Saito, because, man, it's just cool to see a legend like this over here.
Yeah, it certainly is, you know. A little bit in awe, to be honest with you, Jacob, you know, seeing such an iconic name in drifting, working his way around Mondello Park here in Ireland in such an iconic car as well. Beautiful to see as we see some beautiful slow-mo shots. Now he needs a 73.5 or more at the moment to improve on that score. What could he do? And he does. He jumps up. It's going to be an 88 for Saito, and it looks like he could be safe in competition at the moment. 16th position from the man from Japan. We might see him tomorrow in competition. We'll see how scores improve. We go back on the start line to Alan Hines, a man that struggled with that car earlier on, at 73.5 on his first qualifying run.
Now on the bubble. It all comes down to this.
Yeah, through the gears he goes. You can hear him pedaling that car. He's put the spoiler on for this run. Maybe thinks it's going to give him that little bit more downforce that he needed as he works his way around, locks up the front brake, now goes for the outside zone, picks it up nicely as Hines puts the back end where it needs to be, opens up the throttle. You can see him on the foot brake once again, trying to push the back end of that S14.3 or S13.4 towards the wall. Nice job there on the outside zone as Hines opens up the throttle once again, flicks the spoiler over the wall, looks for that outside zone, and job done.
When we talk about technical drivers, Alan Hines is one of the most technical drivers in the world. The way that he's able to do things in sim and how that able to translate to his everyday driving is wild.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I just want to make an announcement.
Okay.
Alan Hines is on the drop zone.
Yeah.
Which means that Laurie Heinonen is out of qualifying at the moment. He has to get it done on his second qualifying run. Heinonen out of qualifying, Hines on the drop zone.
Man, Ireland always delivers. Always delivers, but yeah, man. The fact that Alan Hines is out here pushing drivers like Laurie Heinonen down even further, I mean, I want to know how many laps on sim he put in before this.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go back to what you were saying. He's on the side of the car. Virtual Drift Masters, Alan Hines, an absolute advocate for that.
Yeah.
You know, online drifting, big following with drifting, and, you know, been part of that championship for many, many years. What can he do on his second run? A 79.5 is going to be a nervous wait for Alan Hines.
Yeah, it's this cutoff threshold just keeps bumping up higher and higher.
Yeah.
It's going to be into the 80s pretty soon, and it is going to be very difficult to supersede that.
It certainly is. We go back on the start line, Simon Olsen now. And we see what he can do. First run, 83.5 for Simon Olsen. In the show at the moment, 22nd position, but he'll want to improve as the laser-focused Norwegian looks down the run as he fires that carbon Kevlar S14.9 in, looks to balance it across the circuit. Nice line, nice and early. Look at that, the way he picks up the throttle. This is good from Simon Olsen at the moment. This car lent to Simon Olsen by James Dean for this weekend. Oh, wow, that was beautiful from Simon Olsen. Nearly no break in there as he goes into that last outside zone across the line.
He looks so good in this car.
Yeah,
I know I sound like a broken record, but
Leo Maker's campaign that James lends him this car for a full season.
I mean, I'd have him back any day of the week. It's really great to see the way he's just adapted to this car, gets in it, driving like he's always driven it, and just able to get out to these zones, able to push the car as hard as he wants, so much throttle commitment. When you're in a vehicle that you don't know that well, there's a tendency to not throw it as hard as you think.
Yeah.
You don't know where the car is going to catch.
No.
You don't know when you get on throttle what it might do, and he's able to adapt to it very, very quickly. The pairing of this 2J and this S chassis and Simon Olsen is just a match made in heaven right now. And I'm wondering if he's rethinking his car collection at this point.
Well, look, it's not only that, but you've got the whole brains and science of Dean M Sport and
Right.
James Dean building that car from the ground up. So the whole setup, the whole build, everything to do with that car is James Dean's.
Yeah.
Anyone knows you're going to get into a car that James Dean's not only built but driven and set up. It's going to be perfect. There we go, an 89 on the board for Simon Olsen. And he jumps himself up to 15th position at the moment. A nice improvement there for Simon Olsen. Look, that car, it's going to be perfect.
Right.
Simon Olsen is just the perfect person to put into it.
Agreed.
There we
Couldn't
go.
agree more.
But back on the line we go. It's going to be Harry Kerr. So Harry Kerr and I, 89.5 in his first qualifying run. Comes through the gears. He said he had the lowest horsepower car on the grid, but that didn't disturb him earlier as he puts himself in the 13th place. What can he do now? He's feeling confident. That was a huge initiation as Harry Kerr goes right to the edge of the circuit. Flame erupts from the side of the car as he gets on the throttle nice and early once again as Harry Kerr, the Irishman, absolutely firing through. Puts it where it needs to be. Flicks the car to angle once again. Absolutely beautiful from this young man as he puts the car on the white line, across the line, arm out the window.
Oh, man. This is such a good representation that horsepower is not everything.
Yeah.
It is how you drive the car. It's how you set up the car. Everything from your tire selection to the way that the car is tuned. Harry Kerr just shows that he's punching. He's driving this car like it has twice the horsepower. He's got so much speed throughout this entire thing. And it's so melded together in a way that allows him to get through the run with this style and commitment and fluidity that you could not tell that this car was built for maybe a series under this.
Yeah.
It does not look that way. He's not driving that way. He's driving like he's got the fastest car with the most money and the most tuning and the most technology, and nobody's telling him otherwise.
Wow. And look at that. Absolutely blows the doors off it. A 90.5 on the ball. Jumps himself into 11th position, and we've breached 10 drivers now of a 90.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. What were we at, 25?
25 in Finland.
All right, let's see if we can top that.
I don't know if we can top it.
Not with
I think
that
it could be
attitude.
close. It could be close. We go back on the line, and it's going to be Timo Potola and the crazy Mercedes-Benz wagon. Mercedes-Benz compound turbocharged diesel engine underneath the bonnet as he puts a big clutch kick into it, dials that car onto angle, stands on the foot brake now as Peltola from Finland goes right to the edge of the circuit, kicks some dust into the face of our photography and cameramen in the middle of the circuit, but nevertheless makes it work as he navigates his way around this long wagon, puts it towards the wall, just kisses the back end off of the wall as Peltola now puts foot to floor and drags it across the line.
Almost used the grass and kind of edging his way off track to be able to get the car to snap back around and get it to angle. So taking, it's one of those making lemonade at 11s. Just going a little bit wide, gets the car into the grass, it hooks up just that little bit and shoots the car back out to the other way. And then once he gets into these other outside zones, this is a car where you can see how much throttle he's using. You can physically see the black smoke coming out. Every time he's getting on throttle, you can tell the way that he's playing with the throttle and how he's trying to get the car throughout the track and when he's on throttle, when he's off. And really by the density of the smoke, how much throttle he's using throughout the run. So it's kind of neat to be able to get that much visual representation of what's going on behind the wheel. I don't think there's any other car. Maybe Laurie Heinen, you can feel every time he gets on throttle.
You can feel it, yeah.
But Timo, sitting not in the most advantageous advantageous place with a 79 on his first run. Is he going to be able to increase that score?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he's 27th at the moment, needs to creep himself up the order. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of drivers sit with a 0, a lot of drivers out, including Laurie Hindman, as I keep alluding to, because he is the defending champion. What will we see Timo Portola's score improve to, or will it improve? And it drops in, and it isn't an improvement. He stays where he is at the moment in 27th place. It's going to be a nervous wait for the Finnish driver as Portola now sits in the background waiting to see what he can do. Well, this young man was very unlucky earlier on. He got a full downpour of rain, slams the window of the car, slams his hand into his helmet and says, I need to get this done, I need to get myself into the show. He sits on a 0. What can Fionn Roche do as he hammers through the gears in his 2JZ powered Toyota GT86? A little tentative initiation, but nevertheless makes it work as Fionn Roche now goes right to the edge of the circuit, full throttle as he gets on the handbrake nice and early, slows it down for this outside zone but makes it work. Both rear wheels into that long outside zone. The drone following along for the ride as Fionn Roche seems to be making it work at the moment. Now back on the throttle once again as Roche looks for the end of the wall, looks for the final zone and across the line.
There's no way you would know he was sitting on a 0 ahead of time. The run looked really good. A lot of drivers would be far more hesitant, but when you 0 on your first one and you know what kind of score is on the board for your second run, that's just going to get you into the store. Not even into a top spot, but you already know how far you have to fight just to get back into the show. Which right now is what, 74.5.
Yeah.
Fionn does a great job. He's got a lot of speed in the car. He might not have gone full depth into a lot of these zones, but the big zones, the zones that really carry a lot, he does a really, really good job with. And it's tough. It's such a mental battle to go through.
Yeah.
Having that rain, not feeling like it's your fault, but knowing that at the end of the day, it's still what you're responsible for. And then having to get back out there and go, okay, now it's completely dry. I have to forget about what just happened. I have to forget what kind of score I need. I just need to get out there and drive.
I think that's the biggest mental game for a lot of these drivers, is the reset.
Yeah.
You know, you have a poor first run, you have a score of 0, or you spin, or you have a mechanical. It's the reset to go back on the line and say, this is the first run.
Yeah, this is it.
This is the run. I just put a score on the board and we go from there. You know, and I think that was how Fionn Roche come out here this weekend with that mindset on this second qualifying run. It was, you know what, make it around. Yeah, there was a few adjustments to steering, to handbrake, but look, he done what he needed to do. He put a score on the board. Will it light the scoreboard alight? Let's hope so. And it's an 81.5 for Fionn Roche. And he does get himself a spot in the top 32 at the moment. It's going to be a nervous wait, and it's going to be a nervous one for this man on the line right now, Dave Egan, in the Drift Games Toyota Supra GR, the carbon Kevlar Superjet, as he likes to call it, comes off the line. Again, another driver that was unlucky with weather. What can he do this time? Egan not having his best rookie season, but could this be redemption for him as he puts that car right where it needs to be? It's a nice line so far from Egan. He's going to go wide, takes the cones down, but stays in it as Egan now looks for this outside zone, just drops one wheel, and it's an odd line in and out of that outside zone, but he's making it work right now as Egan goes for the wall, and he puts the back end right to the wall, just about keeps 3 wheels on the circuit. It's scrappy, but is it enough for Egan to get himself in the show?
He's trying to fight for it so much, and
he's pushing 110%.
He's just going for it. He just knows, I gotta huck it. I really gotta go with as much speed, as much of everything we can put into the car as possible. You can see how much speed is going on there, and just doesn't get the car, doesn't add enough angle at the right time to be able to make it out to that zone. Really through here, need to add even more angle, and isn't able to. Pushes him just into the wrong spot, but doesn't give up. I mean, never give up. That is the motto of that entire team, and all the way through this run, he doesn't. He keeps on it, no matter what else is going on, and it is so commendable from Dave Egan, who's just not sitting in a great spot right now.
No, and you know, this team haven't had it easy this weekend either. Dave were taking that car, you know, off track yesterday in practice, and then today they have issues with the gearbox, issues with the clutch. They've had that car in park. Again, the team have worked tirelessly to make sure that Dave can get out for qualifying, which you know, hasn't happened. Oh, and it's another 0, and the judges are telling me in my headset that it's 3 wheels off for Dave Egan at outside zone 3. Unfortunately, that will be the end of the weekend for Dave in his rookie year, and it's just not playing into the hands of the Irishman. We go back onto the line to another Irishman that's had no luck whatsoever in 2025, and is of course Dwayne McKeever, switching it up to a different car this weekend again in the Strom Wheels S15. He comes off the line, slams through the gears. McKeever looking for redemption, slips off the gear stick there, and it's going to be an awkward initiation, but he makes it work. The car didn't react, and it understeers for McKeever.
Do you think it was that misshift?
Did you see it?
I did. I saw
you
his
looked
glove
across
slide
at me, and I was in the zone. I don't know if you guys can catch it on the big screens here, if you're in attendance or if you're at home. We're going to try and get a replay of that, and you can see his hand slip off the gear stick.
And that's all it is sometimes. It's just that one little moment.
Thing, and that could have thrown his mindset. Watch this. Look, slams the car into gear, comes off the line. Watch as he goes through the gears down. Ready? Not this one.
And he's
this one's good. This one. Watch this.
Grip
Bam.
though. Do you see that? He's grabbing it kind of overhead.
And goes for another gear. Then goes for another gear. And then goes for another
late.
gear. And it's too late. And I think that missed shift may have broke the gearbox.
Maybe.
Yeah, and he shakes his head. I know that manufacturer, that brand of gearbox, if you're not super direct with a shift, you can break the gearbox so easy with a misshift. And you may say, Ian, how do you misshift a sequential gearbox? Well, you could do it by that. One slight mistake, the slip off the stick might have been the not fully engaging it as he's pulled the gear stick. And I think that McKeeve has broken the gearbox. There will be a 0 on his second qualifying run. We'll get that clarified. I'm jumping to assumptions.
No, it's all good.
But, you know,
hey,
technical background over here.
You've built a few drift cars in your time.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Too many.
At least one.
Well, here we go. We go back on the line to Yves Meyer, the man from Switzerland in this beautiful GR Supra. Lights up the tyres as he comes off the line. Yves Meyer with 75.5. He, at the moment, sits in 31st place. Needs to improve. Flicks that car to angle. And he said to me earlier on in an interview that he wanted a 91, no less. Well, wheels over the edge of the track aren't going to get you a 91. I'm sure of it, but we'll see. I'm not the judge of that as he fires through, puts the car right to the edge of the circuit. Yves Meyer doing a nice, tidy job this time on his second qualifying run. Foot to floor, stands on the foot brake, pushes the back of that Supra where it needs to be.
You always wonder how much each driver knows. And I know some of them want to know, where am I? What do I need to do? How do I need to drive? And some drivers are, don't tell me anything. Just let me run my race. But Yves Meyer here sitting very, very close to the bubble to 75.5, not getting out to all the zones the way he needs to, just overshooting a little bit. And we're seeing this with a lot of drivers where if you are not fully committed coming around that inside clip, if you need to pull angle out so you don't take that first inside clip too close.
Or don't understeer. If you do that, you may push wide into our second outside zone, and it is not a good time. We know what we're talking about, don't we?
I mean, we're watching it over and over again.
Run after run after run.
We've seen a lot of drifting, and it's tough, though. That first inside clip can make all the difference.
Yeah, the initiation here at Mondello Park, you know, you spoke about it earlier on. When you're coming up that run up, you can't see inside zone 2. All you can see is the roof of that covered grandstand where our cameraman is. So you don't have a reference point. You initiate onto the rumble strips or as close as possible, and then as you go over the crest of that hill, you see that inside zone. So if you've mistimed the clutch kick, the faint initiation, or you've mistimed the handbrake dab to slow the car down, or you've not dialed on enough angle, it's all over.
Yeah.
That easy.
I asked a couple of drivers, like, what are you looking at when you come over? And like, well, nothing. I just know when to do it.
Yeah, there's no reference point.
Yeah.
It's a lot of drivers, somebody said to me years and years ago when I first come to Ireland, I said, how do you do it? And they said, I count. I come off the start line and I go 1, 2, 3, and they count their way through the run to know that on number 9, you pull the handbrake or you clutch kick. Here we go. We're looking for the score for Yves Meyer to drop in, the second qualifying run for this young man. And it's going to be a 76, so a slight improvement, but he stays where he is. It's going to be a nervous wait for him because he is at the moment on 31st position, so very close to that drop-off. And the man that is on the drop-off is Clint Van Ort with a 75.5.
Lot of pressure here on the Dutch driver. We'll see if he's able to put it all back together.
Yeah.
Those tire pressures look really low.
They do look really low, and he's turned it up, and now as he slams through the gears inside the car, you can see how focused Clint Van Ort is. The man from the Netherlands fires that car to angle, picks up the front wheel, puts it to the edge of the circuit, just about keeps the wheels on the tarmac as Clint Van Ort now works his way around this outside zone, foot to the floor as he locks up the front wheel, balances that car right to the edge of the circuit, flicks it towards the wall, a little nervous, but makes it work as he lets the car wash right to the edge of the zone, and now across to the final outside zone.
Yeah, you went all or nothing on this, and this might be a driver that was told where he's sitting in position. When we got that close up at the tire, you could tell that he is running not a ton of tire pressure, really trying to get everything out of the car. Throws that angle in, but just a touch too late as he comes through, and we get this beautiful overhead drone. You can see just that you can get the feeling of how much speed and transitions just before the car is about to go into the grass. You get almost a bit of a panic moment, bit of an e-brake, taps that shifter, and then the clutch kicks to get around.
The clutch kicks are just relentless.
Yeah, and I mean, some of this is just to find a bit more grip in the car. Yeah. Some of it is to keep the tires spinning. There's a lot going on with the clutch kick. It's almost counterintuitive the more you learn about it, but just trying to find the best line through that and using every implementation. They a lot of the times these drivers look like drummers in the cockpit. Both feet, both hands, flying around trying
They're
to find
a one-man band.
They really
or
are.
a one-woman band.
Yeah. I mean, put a harmonica in their helmet, make a beautiful song.
Some of them aren't that creative, I don't think.
You don't think so?
Nah.
Ah.
I would like to hear some of the songs they've got to come out with. That's
We
for sure.
need more karaoke as well.
We need more Drift Masters karaoke. Here we go. Score drops in an 81.5. It does jump himself up the order, does Clint Van Oort. And still keeps himself down the order, still in 25th position as scores start to rain up. Scores are starting to heat up. Drivers are starting to feel the groove. If you're in the groove, you're in the right zone. What are we going to see? Well, Becky's down there. Becky, how's it going?
Well, guys, a relieved Clint Van Oort. It's been a weekend for you so far. Can you tell us what's going through your mind? You've just managed to post a better score on the board, which has jumped you up the order, which hopefully is going to get you into our top 32 this weekend.
I hope so. We can stay in the top 32, and I just can't get in the rhythm this weekend. I don't know what it is, but we need to figure it out. So fingers crossed that I stay in top 32, and let's hope we can do better tomorrow in top 32 then, and enjoy.
Okay, Clint, thank you so much, guys. Not sure if you guys heard that out there, but we're going to send it back up to you in the tower.
Thank you very much, Becky. Yeah, Clint Van Oort just had a few words with him over this weekend, you know, caught a few interviews with him. And Clint Van Oort just told me all weekend he's just not been in the groove, just not really finding his feet. We go back on the start line to the Lithuanian driver, Benediktas Čurba, who currently sits in 33rd position with a 74.5. And Čurba slams the Čurba Fighter into gear. This carbon Kevlar E92 BMW 2JZ underneath the bonnet. Through the gears comes Čurba as he comes down for a big clutch kick to initiation. Nice angle. Look at the way he positions that car. And it's a good line so far from Čurba. Keeps it on the tarmac as the Lithuanian doing triple duty this year. Multiple championships being driven, and this man doing well in all of them so far, but no success at Drift Masters in 2025. Oh, wow! Takes the GoPro off the back of the car, but flexes the carbon Kevlar. Čurba not messing around in his second qualifying run.
Yeah, it's always a good time when you're knocking, you know, extra things off
Oh, he's
the
feeling
car.
it now.
Yeah. Did they tell him we don't run that layout? Maybe no one told him that it's only the one lap.
Yeah, he was like, I've got tyres left, so I'm going to use them up.
Check out this angle coming through. Man, so fast coming through this section. It's hard to comprehend until you come to one of these events in person how quick these cars are and how gripped up they are and how quickly they snap to angle. And Čurba just absolutely on it, completely dialed, gets into those zones, lights off the tires, and starts. You could tell he was pushing out to that wall. You know, one of those. The wall's starting to get closer, so you start feeding the wheel out.
Look at this. Watch the GoPro.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely flings it off. Man, Čurba he is just a force to be reckoned with right now, and you could not tell where his positioning is in the standings right now based on this run. No,
and I think for me, one of the things that you could take away from Benediktas Čurba is that he's driving harder and harder, and 90.5 on the board for his second qualifying run. Čurba doing a lot of driving, you know, in the Baltics, in his home state in Lithuania, driving here all around Europe, and you can see the way that's improving Čurba's driving here at Drift Masters, because he's improving once again. You know, he's always been a top tier driver, but I think in the last couple of years he's been struggling. Jakob Kroll now comes off the line, carbon Kevlar S14.9, sunglasses on. Well, he might not need them for the rain clouds above, but he's going to work them anyway as he fires this car in. Big bit amount of understeer there. You can see him having to use the foot brake to lock up that front wheel. Now, Jakob Kroll, the Polish driver, gets himself into this outside zone. Looks to dial on some angle, flicks that car across the track, looks for the wall, sets himself up lovely, but on the handbrake and sacrifices a little line there as Jakob Kroll now puts the back end towards the white line and across the line.
One of the reasons why this track is so difficult, and I think Jakob Kroll showed a really good representation of that, is it's very difficult to get a perfect setup for this track. And if you have a lot of forward bite, you come through and you get on the throttle and the car shoots out to that inside zone, and it makes things very difficult. If you don't have that forward bite, you shoot out really, really wide. Maybe you have a bit more side bite, which slows the car down as it's at angle. Well, then you got to get the tires lit up even sooner to try and break traction because the car's slowing down that way. And Jakob Kroll here, it just looks like as he came down to go to that inside clip, didn't time it right for the way that the car is set up, and it caused him to be just shallow through that section. Some drivers go right off into the grass, super shallow. He's able to get a bit of left foot brake, push the car out wider, but then it makes it very difficult to get to that outside zone or get the car set up for it. Outside of that one issue, it did look like a really, really good run. But when you know you've had a rough inside clip, you have to get yourself back into the zone of like, okay, the rest of the run I can salvage. And I think that's maybe where he was able to overcome that feeling and then start to put together a pretty good run.
Well, there we go. Score drops in. There's a slight improvement for Jakob Kroll. On 87, dead on the ball, drops him into 20th position. As you say, he moves himself up the order quite a bit, but still some big names yet to come with scores that are very low. We go back on the line to Diogo Correa. 70.5 for Correa on his first qualifying run. At the moment, sitting 35th in the standings. And this man, as I say, around with no mechanical issues, but now maybe just driver issues have got inside his own head. But look at this from Diogo Correa, a little bit more confident on this qualifying run as he now flicks the car where it needs to be. Look at that little dab of the handbrake, sets himself up nicely, waits to go Froll, but makes it work. As the man from Portugal now navigates his way around Mondello Park, attacks the wall and upsets the line.
Just a little bit too much into the wall. And that's the difference between a wall tap and a wall slap. And that was a little bit too hard.
I don't think it was. I'm looking back at the judge's replay.
Oh, you think it's something else happened?
Yeah, I'm looking back at the judge's replay on the second monitor that me and Jacob have in front of us. And I think as he come into the wall, something broke or something shut down.
I think an axle went or something
like that went. Yeah,
interesting.
Look, he's looking under the back of the car. Because
oh man,
my reaction straight away was that he tagged the wall and it upset the car. I think something broke.
Man, look at how
look
much.
At the compression on the back of that car.
Crazy. But he gets the car to catch. This is what we talked about. He's got a good side bite in there, and then coming through this section, lights the car up, starts to get a bit of a dig out of there, takes the left foot brake off, and then starts to push through into this zone. Tons of speed.
Watch as he barely touches the wall.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, from that angle there, it looks like it's a bit more of a hit, but I think whatever broke at that exact moment. I don't know if there was something that popped off at the very end there. Thought I caught a bit of a glimpse of it, but yeah, I might have to see. I mean, we have so many different camera angles here. There might be even more we're able to see.
Look at this.
Yeah, tough.
Oh, there we go. So I'm hearing it in my ears right now. He lost transmission because it wasn't a heavy touch. Oh, it wasn't even a touch on the wall.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't even a touch on the wall. So he lost transmission as he went to the wall. Oh, wow. So heartbreak once again for Diogo Correa as he scores a 0 on the second qualifying run. And bows out of competition here once again at Drift Masters, and just not been the year for the Portuguese driver as he takes the helmet off, takes it off, slots the glasses on and prepares himself for an interview with the one and only Becky Evans. Becky, it has not been a year for Diogo Correa. He must be heartbroken once again.
It honestly hasn't, Ian. Diogo, you were flying, and then we come into the final zone with the wall. Can you tell us exactly what happened there from inside the driver's seat?
I don't know, but in the first corner car, perfect. I'm input the car, the finish corner, probably a broken gear or transmission, I don't know why, but the car don't rolling.
Your season this year hasn't been exactly great for you. What is the plan when you go back to the drawing board for the next round?
I don't know. It's not normal. I don't know why, but I'm strong, not stop, go the next round.
Well, we believe in you, and we're looking forward to having you back at the next round of Drift Masters. Diogo, we'll see you very soon. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, look, he says, I'm strong. I'm coming back. And you know what? That's a man that's got fire in his belly. He's determined to do well at Drift Masters. And unfortunately for Diogo Correa, from Spain to Finland to here, it's just been heartbreak the whole way through. And yeah, look at this. The car just no gears, no drive, and has to shut it down. And lucky, he never put himself into the wall.
Yeah, that's the tough part. I mean, if you straight it, depending on where that broke, if it would have broke, you know, a little bit further on, it might have. Yeah, he might be doing front end work as well as whatever other drivetrain work you need to be doing. Oh, got it though. That feeling has got to be the worst.
That's a man that's had the toughest year at Drift Masters so far as he gets removed off the track.
Yeah, it's not an award that you want. No. toughest year Drift Master.
No, it's not the way you want to go back. You know, end of the year, the reset, the rebuild of the car. You go, well, we had a tough year. You want to go, I had a good year. We go back on the start line to this young man, Kevin Pascotti, who pumps himself up inside the car, claps the hands together, shakes at the head, grips a hold of the steering wheel, slots that car into gear. He gets the thumbs up from our start line, Marshall Martin. As Kevin Pascotti at the moment sits in 24th position. with an 83 dead on the board. And what can Piscotty do as he flicks that car across the circuit? Look at that, absolutely flying. Can he hold on to it? He's going to go wide, but he does manage to keep it on the track as Kevin Piscotty is coming out swinging right now. Wants to get himself higher up the order, and smoke erupts from the back of the BMW E92 as he puts it towards the wall. And on the throttle nice and early goes Piscotty, winds himself around, works himself into the groove and across the line.
You know what? I knew that was coming. I knew that 360
You knew there was a
coming.
360 coming, yeah.
Yeah, it just the way that he got through that run. If you ever want to judge style, there's two things you got to look for. If you think they're about to crash, or your arm hair starts getting raised up, there's a good chance the style score was going to be way up there, and that's what I felt on this run. Big flick out to initiation, lifting that tire through that compression zone. Almost looks like he's about to go off track there. Nope, gets back on throttle, swings the car back out, and just this whole run was absolutely epic. Look at how stable that car is. He adds more throttle and gets more smoke out of that car, still gets the dig out of it, and then able to push it nice and wide out to our last outside zone. Look at the way he gets that car to swing back around all throttle all the time. Oh man, Kevin's got to be pumped. I mean, the 360 is a good indicator he's having a good time, but I'm going to be popping by his pits later on just to see how big of a smile he's able to cram onto his face.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy with that. And
Yeah.
I'm holding back a little bit of a judgment here because the judges aren't as happy as what we are.
That's fine.
You know, they don't.
All I looked at was the style score.
Yeah, I mean,
that was it.
They're happy, but they're not that happy.
They're picky. Yeah. That's why we don't go to
That's
dinner
why they're
with them.
judges.
Yeah.
There we go. Look, and an 86.5. You know, for me and Jacob, that probably was a much better run than maybe what the judges scored it. But the judges know what they're looking at, and we don't.
And that's why they're judges and we are announcers.
Exactly that. So there we go. We go back on the start line to a man that sits out of qualifying at the moment, George Christopher, who sits on a 0. Got it wrong on the initiation, put wheels up on the curb, put the car backwards, end up in the tyre barrels of the concrete wall. The car's back together again, just some minor cosmetic damage as Christopher slots that car through the gears and now flicks it to angle as Christopher tries to get a bit of redemption, knows what he needs to score. He needs to get himself a 77.5 or more to get himself in the show, but he's down out of that zone and he's going to be bleeding points massively as Christopher needs to get himself up onto the walls, into those outside zones, and now starts to work himself into the groove, trying to impress the judges. He looks for that final outside zone, just catches a wheel on it.
Almost did exactly what he did on the previous run, just flirting with disaster, getting right to the edge of the track, almost into that runoff area through initiation, and then bit of an interesting transition that we'll get to here a little bit later on, but look at, gets that car out wide and just about does the exact same mistake, but able to get through it. And then as he comes through that outside zone and then transitions out to 4, does it really early, and he's kind of e-braking in the transition to get the car around. And really the judges want you to, if you're going to slow it down, do it just before outside zone 4, maybe not during that actual transition. But at this point, George just looking to get a score on the board, try and see what he's able to do to get back into the battle, because having a null up top, not a great way to come into your second run. You know, arguably the worst way to come into your second run. And just wanting to put it out there and make it into the show. Everybody wants to be in the show.
Everyone wants to be in that big show for tomorrow, the top 32, top 16. There we go, a 74.5, not enough to get himself into the show, but a score on the board nevertheless. And Christopher will have to sit out tomorrow and watch everyone else have fun on circuit and think about what he did. You know, back on the line to the Finnish driver, Jarkko Juhla, Toyota Chaser JZX100, slams the door closed. This young man, at 88 on the board, 19th position at the moment, so he knows what he needs to do. He would have been watching from the spotters tower, watching from behind the scenes and seeing what's going on. Look at the way he flicks that car to angle. Very nice from the Finnish driver right now. Jarkko Juhla works the back end at JZX100 right to the extremities of the circuit as he puts the rear wheel right to the white line, stands on the accelerator and unleashes all of the power available from the 2JZ as he now puts it back into that outside zone, back onto the line, onto the wall, across the line. Job done from Jarkko Juhla.
Yeah, trying to level up throughout this entire thing. Holds that car back so well after initiation and does an amazing job of getting the timing of that so right in order to make sure he's able to fill the zones without doing anything too wild. But look at, wow, on throttle all the way through. Keep talking about that compression and just gets the car to angle and then unlocks it and shoots it back out, getting out to that outside zone and then able to fill it. Really stable through here. It has a small left foot brake drag through the first part of that zone and then doesn't repeat that throughout the rest of it. But man, what a great job to Jarkko Juhla. I mean, that is such a difficult car to get to drive at this level.
I mean, look, it's a huge car.
Yeah.
I mean, and he knows it very well by now. It's many years in this car piloting it, but the way he can position that car and the way he can throw it around is absolutely phenomenal. And I love the style of the car. I love the look of the car. I love the fact he's using a JZX 100 in competition.
Yeah, it just shows that there's not really a winning recipe.
No, there we go. An 88.5, barely an improvement. 0.5. Peter would take that 0.5.
yeah, he's looking for a 0.5.
He's looking for a 0.5 anyway. Well, here we go. We go back on the line to this man, Jason Benet, Subaru BRZ 2JZ underneath the bonnet. The Frenchman come out swinging his first. Qualifiers.
I just can't wait to see him in battle because of how aggressive he's driving. Look at that. Aggressive he's driving. Look at that. Sick initiation, but there's no wick initiation, but there's no way. I don't know if there's physically a way to be able to hold that car at angle all the way through that section.
He catches understeer. Well, that's the problem with it.
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, I don't know if there's physically a way to be able to hold that car at angle all the way through that section.
He catches understeer as well. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, it's tough, but I mean, it looks stylish. There's tons of angles there. You're picking up points there. Doesn't sacrifice the rest of the line for it, and then right to the edge, maybe dips a wheel off just ever so slightly through the fourth outside zone. Look at how far back the travel is on that e-brake, though. Might have to tighten that up a touch, but hey, every driver's a little different. They like things a little bit different, but Jason Benet, very aggressive, very stylish. As I said, I mean, if everything keeps going the way he's going and he makes it into the show for tomorrow, his battle runs are going to be epic. Yeah,
they certainly are. As we see Jason Benet there putting on a show into those outside zones along the wall. This is lovely from Jason Benet, and a man that we've hyped up so much in the championship from day one when he came here. And here we go, score drops in. Identical score.
Wow. He's nothing but consistent.
Nothing but consistent and a dangerous man here at Mondello Park, and we'll see what he's like tomorrow as he looks like he's secured his spot in that top 32. We go back to the start line. Marco Zaccaril now, BMW M2. Thumbs up. He's a happy man so far. Another driver sitting with a 91.5. Will he improve as he sprints off the start line, through the gears he goes, as he comes over the hill and down towards initiation as Marco Zaccaril from the Czech Republic puts that car where it needs to be. Nice line so far from Zaccaril. Dials on more angle towards outside zone 3. Now works it into 4 on the throttle nice and early. Look at this, he looks absolutely dialed. The car looks settled as Zaccaril goes for the transition a little early, goes down the wall very long on the throttle super early as Zaccaril puts the back bumper and the tail light towards the wall and across the line.
Just another very, very consistent driver throughout that whole thing. We're seeing a few of these 91.5s, and I don't know, I just might be able to top it. Feels like he's really pushing harder, trying a little bit different of initiation there, just the way he's able to get that angle, but does have to scrub a bit more.
Yeah.
Just trying to carry that speed over it. They have a ton of speed coming over that hill, but you have to be able to carry all of it without making a correction to that angle throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's the big thing they're looking for. And when you start comparing these runs to the drivers up in the, the 99.5, there's no correction made without it. It is a set it and a forget it. It's a 100% commitment. As soon as the car goes sideways, they're at angle. They kind of just lock that steering wheel in place and hold it all the way through. But yeah, man, Marco Zaccaril, another driver that very excited to see what he does when he gets into battles, how he's able to handle things, and just getting more and more aggressive. As you can see, they're dragging that bumper all the way around. But I mean, the e-brake looks longer just because of the slow-mo, but 95.
Wow. A 95 on the board for Marco Zaccaril, third place in qualifying. He is looking really strong, and it's good to see Zaccaril back on form. We talk about that engine change, that platform has completely changed the car and changed his driving style. We go back on the line, Juha Poitalaxko. BMW E92 M3, a 78.5 on his first qualifying run. Sees him in 13th position at the moment as Juha slots that car into gear now. Through the gears, down he comes, over the hill. And look at this, laser focus from the Finnish driver as he goes for a clutch kick. Puts that car where it needs to be now. Juha on the throttle nice and early. Lovely line so far from Juha as he now balances it, flicks it, looks for the transition, slows it down on the foot brake, gets himself into the outside zone. Juha working the car right where it needs to be, flicks it on full throttle, flicks it back towards the wall, full throttle. And then on full throttle once again as Juha absolutely screams across the line.
Yeah, that little bit of extra that we talked about before, the little bit we were hoping, he's pulling it out now, and this is such a veteran move, being able to put down a really, really solid run on the first one with a 90 and then be able to come back in and try to improve on that. I was a little worried. There was some hesitation there at the first part of the initiation. I didn't know if we saw maybe another misshift or something going on, but able to get that car out. Look at that. I like the kind of the drop when he shifts gears as a bit of a mic drop moment there, and then banging that gear back down as he comes through. Juha Putalakso, man, just continues to impress every single run, making those changes, not doing anything wild, but still having a very, very exciting run that's fun to watch, tons of angle, good style, not sacrificing that line, tons of smoke there. Not that they judge smoke, but I mean, I do. And yeah, I think
the smoke shows commitment.
It does show commitment. It shows wheel speed, it shows a lot. I mean, it depends on how nerdy you really want to get with this, but it does also show where they're on throttle and where they're not. And it's a good indication for the judges if they're decelling in a spot that they're supposed to. So there's the tire smoke right there.
Yeah, there we go. And a slight improvement, a 94 on the board for Juha Putalakso from Finland. 5th position, secured himself in the show tomorrow, and he's one to be looking forward to in those battles. Comes alive in twin battles. On the line now, though, Naoki Nakamura in the Toyota GR86.
Yeah.
78.5 on his first qualifying score. What can he do? He's down in 31st position at the moment. We've still got drivers sitting on 0, so it's not all done and dusted yet. As a 77.5 is needed or more to stay in the show. Not such a wild initiation this time from Nakamura as he puts it where it needs to be, trying to impress the judges. Late on throttle into the outside zone, but still in there nevertheless as the smoke now starts to come across the circuit. Nakamura fires it towards the wall. Yeah, both tail lights almost painted along the wall as Nakamura squeezes the accelerator, looks for that final zone, and job done.
Well, some drivers will take it light on the first run and then go absolutely, wild on the second. Nakamura, he went, okay, I tried something a little crazy. He went a bit out to lunch, mowed the grass, went on a picnic. Now I need to dial it back in, and he continues to impress with how advanced his driving has gotten year over year. He is an absolute icon in the sport, but coming off a season like last year where he just didn't look comfortable, didn't look settled, every event that we've seen him in this year, he continues to look better and more consistent throughout. He's kind of known to be a bit of a wild man, as we saw earlier on, but this is a run where he went, okay, I know I have to put in a solid run. I'm sitting really, really close to the bubble. It's edging more and more towards an 80. My 78.5 is probably not going to keep me in the show. Let's get back out there. Let's make sure I'm hitting all the zones, but still have a ton of fun as we see that wing getting really dangerously close to the wall. Can we get the pool noodles out there? I know that's more of like a grassroots thing, but I just like
more of a party.
Yeah. Oh, look at that shot. I need that shot.
An improvement as well for Nakamura, an 87 on the board. As Nakamura jumps himself up to 21st place and secures himself into the show tomorrow. Looks like only 2 drivers at the moment sitting out of the show. So yeah, 2 drivers sitting out with 0. So Kevin Quinn nervously awaits to see if he's in top 32 tomorrow. Oren Nielsen now sits on a 95 on his first qualifying run. 4th place at the moment. So as it sits, Oren Nielsen sits in for a spot in the qualifying showdown after qualifying as he hammers through the gears. The Norwegian driver in his big Toyota Sora puts the floor as Nielsen now looks for that perfect qualifying line. A good technical line driver and very consistent is Nielsen as he gets into the outside zone, perfectly timed on the throttle, works his way around, looks for the transition as Nielsen shuts it down. Nielsen shuts it down.
Oh no. It looked really solid up until that point. And yeah, interesting. Still driving off. Couldn't quite tell if he was in gear or not, but something really strange there. But before that, Uran, I mean, gets the car out. This is what we talked about with keeping that consistent angle all the way through. Sets it on throttle. Look at, you can tell.
Yeah, it doesn't adjust the steering wheel really.
The e-brake pump there, the 4 or 5, just to make sure the car's where he wants it. So smooth, and then just unwinds. Look at the eyes.
Looks down at the transmission.
Oh no. But man, look at the size of his eyes though throughout that. That is a gut-wrenching feeling, as you can feel your wallet evaporate in that moment. Oh man.
I like that technical term.
Wallet evaporate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. Well, yeah, best of luck to him. I hope it's not
Well,
that bad.
we'll find out what happened to Oran Nielsen and if he'll make it to the qualifying showdown. Still a few drivers yet to go. We move it back to the start line. It's going to be Jakub Szkodski, Toyota GR86 2JZ. Thumbs up. Look at this, ice cold. That's a man that knows motorsport. He's in the zone.
Yeah.
Sits second at the moment in qualifying. Two Polish drivers sitting first and second in qualifying. Can Szkodski improve on that score, or will he just cement it as he fires that car in on angle? Look at this from Szkodski, but he's gone wide on inside zone 2. He's going to make it work nevertheless, as he absolutely fires into outside zone 4 now. Szkodski stands on the front, looking dialed as the Polish driver flicks the car through the circuit, moving with more pace than he did before. Flicks the back end of that car towards the wall now, flicks it once again towards the wall as he looks for that final zone and across the line.
I wish he would have picked up that inside clip, because that might have been a contender for her top spot already, which is crazy to think of. Oh, everything else but that one spot looks so dialed. Incredibly quick coming out of the gate. Great feint initiation there, and look at it. And then you could just tell immediately.
Just understeering.
Yeah, not able to get that car out. And that is the thing a lot of these drivers are fighting with these cars, because of the amount of grip that they're able to make with the tires and the technology that we've got now and the driver ability. We're now at a point where the front tires have become the limiting factor in the way that they're driving, which is wild to me. But yeah, I mean, Jakub, man, every bit of him, every cell in his body is a competitor and a driver. He knows nothing but competition and taking a vehicle and pushing it to his absolute limit and just trying to find that extra little bit to take down his fellow countrymen, but not able to do it. A little bit understeer was it.
Yeah, and an 87 not rewarded, obviously, for missing that inside zone, as Jacob alluded to, and you can't be missing the zones.
No,
not this late in the game.
Not here. Not now.
We go back on the line. Mika Keskikorpi now sits in 14th position with an 89.5, and 13 drivers with a 90. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. There we go. Through the gears goes Mika Keskikorpi. Look at this laser focus. Looks out the window across the circuit. Flicks that car on a clutch kick. Puts that car where it needs to be. Follows that line. It's nice so far from the finished driver as Keskikorpi now balances the car, dials it through on the handbrake, on the foot brake. Everything's working at one in unison as Mika Keskikorpi doing an Irish jig inside that car, trying to make it happen as Mika Keskikorpi puts the back wheel of that 2 Series right to the edge of the circuit, right to the white line and across the line.
Definitely going for the improvement on the 89.5, and yeah, really knowing that he's got to push a bit harder. Although, as we talked about, that bit of understeer, still just fighting a lot of these drivers, and really that comes down to just that weight transfer coming over. They're really only able to drive at the front one wheel. So if you don't have everything completely dialed, if you don't have maybe the droop set to your outside wheel to make sure that it has some sort of contact to be able to bring the car around, that is the toughest part there. But Mika Keskikorpi, very calm all the way through this run. Looks really good. I don't know what that red on the dash was, but I think that's just the full commitment light.
Yeah, that's the we got full power light.
Yeah, that's you've welded the pedal to the floor and just able to slide it down. It'd be a cool series just to see what everybody's dash looks like in these cars. I mean, there's some funny things that drivers put on the dashes.
Oh, yeah.
Some of we can't show on air, but a really good run there, Mika Keskikorpi. Is he able to improve on that 89.5?
I mean, look, it was good. I don't know, but I'm not a judge. A 93.5, he does improve, does Mika Keskikorpi, and the judge is feeling generous this afternoon.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so there we go. It was a very good run from Mika Keskikorpi, and looking settled, and this young man from Finland, improving year on year. Every single time he gets in the car, we go back to the start line to Connor Falvey. The Irishman slams into gear. The Carbon Kevlar S15 from Drift Games. What can he do? The Rookie of the Year for 2024 comes off the line, spins the tyres now, looking for that grip, trying to pedal that car, trying to get all the power down and flicks that car through. And Falvey now on big angle as he absolutely nails that line so far, but he's going to come up a little shallower. Yeah, and you can see him pushing the foot brake, trying to put the back end of that S15 where it needs to be. Falvey now into outside zone 4, full throttle, full commitment as he flicks the car to angle. Looks for the wall, gets there nice and early as Falvey now back on throttle again, looks for that second wall run, gets the job done. Final outside zone across the line, and Connor Falvey does it.
Yeah, looking for every little bit again, tons more speed. Big, maybe one of the biggest initiations we've seen that actually paid off. We've seen a few that were maybe a bit bigger, but didn't go quite as well. But Connor Falvey getting the tires lit up really early. Look at that, though. The amount of flick that he puts into that car is nuts.
And the steering didn't correct either.
Yeah,
Big
and then
point.
has to hold it back, though. Just really has to hold that car back because all it wants to do is shoot back out right into the grass, right at our fans here, and is able to do so. That's not an easy thing to do because you want that foot to the floor and then using that left foot to hold the brake and pull that car back. It's like a horse that's trying to run away from you. He's just yanking on the reins for all of his worth throughout this entire run. He's so aggressive for being such a meek and mild person. As soon as you get him out of the car, he's very quiet, very friendly, big smile. But as a driver, he scares me.
Yeah, there we go, an 88, not improving. And I'm going to say it was inside zone 2, wheels over the curb.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a judge? You could be.
No, I don't want to be a judge.
No?
I never, ever want to judge. I'm getting the thumbs up, though.
You
From
can do
Mateus Jedges. He's saying that I was right, so there you go. I've learned a little bit in the last couple of years. Back on the line we go to a man that's sitting with an 86 at the moment. Juha Rittinen from Finland sits in 23rd position. Flicks in this 2JZ e-Power Toyota GR86, and very nice. Look at that line. That's the line, but he's gone deep on that line. Judges will be taking a good look at that. And he's gone early once again to outside zone 4. You picked it up earlier on, Jacob. He does the same thing again, and he's on an odd transition now to outside zone 5. Makes it work though as he gets to the wall to 6, puts the foot down to the floor, works the back end of that GR86 right to the crease, right to the edge of the circuit.
Yeah, Juha's looking to almost develop a new way to get around the track. It's not even like a trying, because he did do it. He was able to get through the run, but in I guess a more obscure version of what we've seen before. A little bit late on those transitions. His flick was so subtle. Look at just a little whoop, whoop, and there it is. Most drivers really having to kind of get
Flick
the car,
yeah,
and weight transfer, but I mean, that is not the case here for Juha Rittinen, who just uses just a little bit, but goes a bit wide through this section, still on throttle, still a lot of commitment. He's banging it off the lock through that.
Yeah, he's on the lock stops, yeah.
Yeah, just slamming that steering wheel over, hoping for a few more degrees. But yeah, the transition, very late.
Yeah.
Very late.
And almost mid-track.
Yeah. And it's just not something that other drivers are doing. And to chase that would be very, very difficult. Now, that's not really something they're looking for here in qualifying.
No.
It might come into line, although it's not a part that's judged as much through line. But in a lead run with the chase driver, that is very difficult to chase.
Yeah, without a good lead, you can't have a good chase, and judges take all that into consideration. Hence why we have qualifying, hence why we whittle down 40-odd drivers down to just 32, and there we go. Not an improvement from Juha Rittinen, and it will only be a 77.5. Stays where he is in 23rd position at the moment. We go to our first place qualifier at the moment, and I'm going to say a man that can't be beaten right now in qualifying.
Interesting.
I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
No one can beat it. Unless it's a perfect run, no one can beat it. He comes off the line from Poland. Piotr Wojciech right now flicks the GR Supra to angle as he absolutely hammers the throttle. He's on the inside. He's absolutely going for it. As Piotr Wojciech coming out here right now, swinging, putting on a show for the fans at Mondello Park. He absolutely adores Ireland, and he adores the fans here, and they adore him too as he puts the back end towards the wall. Piotr Wojciech is here this weekend to make a statement as he lights up the tyres and lights up the hearts of everyone. Wow.
Even a perfect 360 to end it, which he's going for it. He really wants a perfect score. He wants to get that 100. He's using every single bit of the track, going edge to edge on absolutely everything, as fast of a transition as he can get, as fast initiation, just a little bit of an e-brake pull there, not much, in through that inside clip, as close in as he can without going off track. Look at that, absolutely straddles that front right tire just on the edge of that clip, pushing the car as wide as he possibly can through every single part of this track. Absolutely epic. So it is wild what he's doing there, and trying to use every part of the track, maybe even parts of the track that he can.
It wasn't as good as his first run.
You don't think so?
Nah.
Oh, man.
But I'm not a judge.
You're not.
I'm just telling you what I see. The 360 was phenomenal.
That should be worth some points.
Should be 110 points.
Just
there we go.
there.
Score drops in. A 96. Do you know where it went wrong? Inside zone 2, wheels on the curb. They said it in the briefing. Don't go on the curb. You go on the curb, you're going to lose points.
Okay.
You just can't go on that curb. And that is a big point. And it's easy for the judges to see. Look, the judges have done some hard work, but I tell you who's done some seriously hard work. It's Piotr Wojciech, and Becky's with him right now.
Peter. That was a run for the ages. I mean, 99.5 points. How can you even top that? When you pulled to the line, were you thinking, I'm going to try and get that extra 0.5 of the points, or was that just for fun for the crowd?
To be honest, at the last minute I just decided let's do it just for fun, and it was worth it. I had really a blast during that run. I was full throttle almost everywhere, and yeah, it's time to enjoy. You know, it's amazing, and it's my best score in my career. So yeah, it's excellent, feels excellent now. Yeah, we have a moment to celebrate, but need to focus for the rest of the competition. It's just the beginning.
So how are your thoughts moving into this weekend? You've obviously set yourself up very nicely in qualifying, but it's always going into top 32 where you start to feel the real heat.
Yeah, exactly. So as I said, it's just this small moment to celebrate and to have fun and to enjoy, but the real heat will begin tomorrow. So yeah. But it feels nice now.
Good, good. Congratulations, Peter. Enjoy it for the moment. We'll see you in our top 32. Guys, a very happy to be in sec there. Back to you.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, I'm not surprised. A 99.5, a career best, a PB.
Yeah.
A PB for Peter Wojciech, and he loves it here in Poland, as we mentioned earlier. We go back on the line to Kevin Purcell. Look at that. He buttons on the anti-lag, slams the car into gear, and he's ready to do some damage on the circuit. And 88.5, and Purcell will want to move himself way up the order. You would have seen what's attainable out there on track as he flicks that BMW to angle. And look at this, a nicer line from Kevin Purcell. Keeps it clean this time, right to the edge of the circuit as Kevin Purcell works his way around outside zone 4, put flat to the floor as he locks up the front brake, just trying to push the back end that BMW right into the zone as he now flicks it towards the wall. A little shallow, a little tentative on the handbrake there for Kevin Purcell as he flicks it towards that last outside zone and across the line.
Looked really, really tidy there just until that last outside zone. It was a really good repeat, potentially even better than his first run through the vast majority of that run, but going a little bit wide when the tires are really hot and you're got all that adrenaline going through you, and you think, okay, I got this, I can push through, and you have to keep that restrained until the run is completely over. But every other part of this run looks good. The transition's really nice and snappy, making them at the correct spots to get the car lined up, not over angling, not over rotating. And then through our last zones, that's where it gets just a little bit dicey there for Kevin. But will it increase his score? 88.5, it's going to be tough. I don't know. Is it going to put him in the show? Right now he's sitting in 17th. Should be a pretty comfortable spot, but always want to move up the field.
Yeah, of course. They always want to move up the field. And oh, there we go. An identical score for Kevin Purcell, an 88.5. And so the line was worse, but the style was better.
There you go. I think that's a good balance.
It's a good balance. Yeah. They just need to work on that line for tomorrow.
I think that's easier to work on than style.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah.
Style just comes naturally.
Exactly.
There we go. Well, a man that's always good on the line is Paweł Korpolinski. He sits on the line right now of an 86 dead. The man from Poland, 2JZ powered Nissan 200SX S14A, screams through the gears as he fires down. He's very clinical, a very good line driver is Paweł Korpolinski. What can he do right now? He would have seen his fellow Polishman top the scoreboards and set the judges' hearts alight, but what can he do as he stands on the foot brake, works the back end of that car right where it needs to be? And this is absolutely beautiful so far from Paweł Korpolinski. Puts the car where it needs to be. Look at this, right to the edge of the circuit, everywhere he needs to be. This absolutely stunning from Paweł Korpolinski.
Wow, Paweł Korpolinski. I mean, when I saw him the first time in Spain, I went, this is one of the most technical drivers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He just sets this car in. He's able to know, there's so much trust in what he's doing in the car because he gets these big angles, he gets the car floated out, and then is able to fill all the zones, get right to the edge of the track on every run. And where he was always lacking a little bit was that style and the angle part of it, but he's getting that now. The angle he gets coming out of this zone, transitioning out, looks so good. Look at the lock on this, and that's not something you would have seen previously. Big snap there on that transition. Getting the line dialed is incredibly difficult, but being able to do it and make it look fluid, make it look like it's a fun, exciting run with a big snap in between is so tough. But Paweł Korpolinski is doing that. He's upping his game every single time, taking notes from the judges and all the points that he might not have been able to fulfill previously. And I really think he's just scaling up with every run.
He certainly is scaling up with everyone. He looks comfortable the more and more he does in the car. He had limited practice yesterday. He said that he had some debris go into the bell housing on the gearbox. It destroyed the flywheel. The flywheel then started to destroy the clutch and everything else. They worked through the night to get the car repaired. And he said, look, by the morning we'll be ready for practice again. He went out and practiced this morning, and it's done him, due diligence because he's put the car where it needs to be, and he's rewarded by it. A 94 on the board.
Yeah, just a little bit more style.
I mean, style and angle, 59 and 19.
Yeah, wild. Oh man, that's just a little bit more. But here is a big story.
Well, it's
right
the first of our 2 0-scoring runs coming up right now. Jack Shanahan is angry. Look at his face inside the car. He slams the door closed. He needs to score on the board. Shanahan sits with a 0. He's out of the show for tomorrow as he fires in this Toyota GT86 2JZ. He can't afford to just go half tilt. He needs to score more than a 77.5 as Shanahan gets it into the outside zone, opens up the throttle, now flicks the car across. The story of the weekend is, can he get it into the show? As Shanahan sits with a 0, he needs to work, he needs to put it right to the edge of the circuit, and he does as Shanahan takes it across the line.
Yeah, talk about stepping it up in a moment of need. This was everything in front of your home crowd, in front of all your friends and family. The amount of pressure that was on Jack Shanahan before that run started is incredible. I don't think I've ever felt it. I don't know if anybody in this entire facility has felt what Jack Shanahan just went through on that run. Did not waver at any point. Hucks that car in as hard as he could. Does a great job through that blending line there. Gets the car way out with a ton of angle. Transitions nice and quick. And then gets right on the edge of the track. Look at that. Maybe, oh man, I don't know if he went off there. If he did, it was just by an absolute hair. But Jack Shanahan, tons of angle. Snappy transition on throttle all the way through this part. Back out, gets into that zone. Gets a little bit of a left foot brake to make sure he's filling all of it. Fighting through that broken windshield. Oh man, Jack Shanahan steps up in a moment of desperation. Man, the speed he's got going into those zones is just wild. Do you think it's enough, Ian? Do you think we're going to see Jack Shanahan?
Well, I mean,
in the
look,
show?
the drop zone at the moment is Kevin Quinn. If Jack Shanahan scores more than the 77.5, which to me, from where I'm sitting, from what we've seen so far today, it looks like it is going to be enough. He knocks Kevin Quinn out of competition and puts Peltola right on the drop zone in 32nd place.
So 77.5.
77.5 or more to get himself into the show. What has Shanahan scored as we await the scores to drop in from our judges? It's a nervous wait for everyone. It's going to be an 86.5, 24th position. And not as good as maybe what I assumed or we assumed. There were some mistakes creeping in there. Not sure how the judges see it, but I tell you who's down on the ground with Jack Shanahan is Becky. Becky, you're down there with him. He must be happy now.
Jack, I know you love a bit of pressure, but come on. You know, a 0 on the first run, then an 86.5. You're in the game. But that's not nice when you leave the line and you've got that feeling on your shoulders, is it?
No, I must say I haven't felt that bad before a run, like, in a long time. I'm not too sure what it is. I don't know if I can't control my nerves properly anymore. But the first run, just the car didn't feel right in the straight, and I kind of flicked in the wrong gear, and then I gave it a gear, and then it was just terrible. Then I hit the curb, and it was kind of half wet, and I made an ass of myself basically. But look, yeah, I was so nervous there. That run was like definitely the worst run that I've done all weekend, and to still get an 86, I'm quite happy with that at least. So I need to try to get like a good sleep tonight because last night's sleep was terrible. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, Jack, from where we were standing, it was a great run. Speed, style, line, and angle. You had it all in there, and you're in the game. You're in the show, and that's the main thing.
Exactly.
We'll see you very soon on Top 32.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Becky. Well done, Jack. Got himself in the show. Yeah, do you know what he needs? Good meal, early to bed. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Reset.
Someone who's also sitting on a 0 is this young man. Ite Seda sits on the line. A D-bead after initiation on that inner zone 2. The front tyre popped off the bead. Looks like the team have obviously got it fixed. He's back out on the track. Needs to score, as we say, a 79 now or more to get himself into that show. Fires that car on a big angle. Catches loads of understeer. He's gone super wide. Ite Seda bleeding some points now. The man that was on the podium at round 1 now puts himself in a sticky situation. Starts to bleed even more points on that outside zone. Looks for the wall, looks for that outside zone, works his way into it now, finds himself into the groove, puts his foot to the floor. Can he redeem anything from that one?
That is battling a lot of nerves. Another driver with a ton of pressure on their shoulders to get through. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to have that mechanical and not sure if you can really trust your car again. As Ite Seda pushes out a little bit wide, missing that inside clip, but does a good job to collect the next zone, and then transitions very early and has to float so far out to the outside zone 4, taking a midline approach through there, and then transitions again. But a couple of big mistakes in there, and with qualifying going the way that it is, with a 79, now the breaking point between being in the show and watching from the sidelines, is going to be enough for Ite Seda, who had an incredible set of runs previously, I mean, even within practice and, I mean, coming out of Spain, everything looked really, really solid for him on a heater. But now having to wait and watch the scoreboard to see what's going to happen with the rest of his weekend. Oh.
Well, yeah, he certainly is. It's going to be a nervous wait for Ite Sede as the judges deliberate. This one, the score drops in. It's going to be an 81 for Ite Sede. Does get himself into the show, knocks out Timo Peltola, puts Ryan Hughes onto the drop zone, and Alan Hines down into 31st place. Our championship leader, our championship defender from 2024 now sits on the line out of top 32. Currently sits in 37th position with a 73.5. Big story of the weekend. What can Heinen do? He needs a 79 or more to get himself into the show as he flicks that Dodge NASCAR V8 Pro Charged S13 to angle as he now works his way around the outside zone. Heinen needs to get it done right now. The Finnish driver has all the pressure on his shoulders, but he loves to fight from the back as he puts the back end towards the wall. Heinen on throttle, looks for that second wall, goes for it, looks for the final zone and across the line.
I don't think Finland has a word or has a term for safe run, because he should have taken this a little bit slower, maybe less aggression, but Lauri Heinonen does not know how to drive that way. It is not in his being. So much speed coming out of that run. Flicks the car in, sends it so wide, and look at him. In a very obscure driving position, everybody letting go to the steering wheel on transition, grabs the e-brake, gets it settled, back on throttle, just making so much smoke, so much speed and noise. It's just a visceral run from Lauri Heinonen, who doesn't know the word for pressure either. Safe run, pressure, safety, any of those things, they just don't translate for this man.
No, they certainly don't. And this is a man that told us before multiple times that he loves to fight for a championship. He doesn't want to be leading it, defending it. He wants to fight for it. And will he be a two-time champion? Well, it's going to be a tough battle and it's going to be a tough year, that's for sure. Lauri Heinonen did make a mistake after the initiation on that inner zone. You could see it was a wheel on the curb, so I'm not expecting it to, top qualifying. And the score drops in. It's going to be a 94. It will be a good score, but it's going to be 8th position for Lauri Heinonen. All that matters for Heinonen is he's into the show for tomorrow. The championship fight is still alive. At the moment, he's currently sitting 5th in the championship. Becky's down with Lauri Heinonen. He managed to do it, Becky, but on the final run, but it wasn't great and he doesn't look comfortable.
Absolutely, Ian. Lauri, there's no such thing as a safe run here, but you really had to put it all to the wall there. You've got a 94, that's brilliant, but can you tell us what happened in that first run? It was uncharacteristic for you.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know what happened. We found a fault. The steering column was hitting the exhaust, but I don't know if that was it, or was it just me? But yeah, a lot of pressure for the second run.
Can you give us a quick track update out there? Is it slick or are you full grip? Can you tell us what's happening?
It's a bit slick, yeah. Looks completely dry, but it's slippier than in practice.
Okay, well, great. Well, we'll see you in our top 32. Thank you so much for a wonderful run, and we'll see you there. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Becky. Ah, so it's still slick out there, Jacob. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, a man that didn't find it slick and found it absolutely fine was this man, Torani Kavia, sitting in 10th place at the moment with a 93 dead. He'll want to get himself into that qualifying showdown battle. So who at the moment sits with Wycheck, Bruskonski, Zachariu and Nielsen. That's going to be interesting. Kavia's going to want to be part of that conversation, especially sitting 4th in the championship. Through the gears he goes. The Norwegian sledgehammer flicks the car to angle. How did he hold on to it? Wow! Kavia is absolutely flying. He's come out swinging on the second qualifying run. The Norwegian sledgehammer does not hold back as now Kavia opens up the throttle. Full throttle transition once again as Kavia puts it to the wall. Absolutely insane from Kavia. Where did this run come from? Ireland makes some noise for Kavia.
This is the run I was waiting for. This is what we saw him try and practice.
Wow.
This is an almost full throttle run through almost the entire track. Absolutely insane what Kavia just did there. I know he grabbed a little bit of handbrake on initiation, but it wasn't much. The speed coming out of the chute and just absolutely on it. Look at the speed coming through that zone, angles the car up, somehow finds a way to dig it out of that zone because nobody else is able to do it. And look at how calm he is in this. Oh my gosh, the onboard, you would have no idea. If you just watched the onboard, you have no idea how epic that run was from the outside. There's nowhere he's got any tire left on this. And the craziest part about this whole thing is he said he wants to drive this way all the way through competition. This isn't a qualifying setup. This isn't some trickery he set up just for these couple of runs here. He wants this all weekend. He wants this smoke on every driver he's going against for the rest of the weekend. Good luck, everybody else. Wow, Tornik Kavia finds another way, finds another gear. The Norwegian sledgehammer.
You know what, when Vajcek come out and laid down that 99.5, I thought that's going to be it. I think every other driver's kind of laid down a little bit and said, we're going to do our best, but maybe it's done. You know, maybe qualifying's done and maybe you're not going to beat it. Oh, you could just about improve though, and it's going to be a 94 for Torane Kavia. He improves by 1 point, but he doesn't get himself in that qualifying showdown. It's very close. We go back to the start line to a man who definitely want to be in the qualifying showdown. Third in the championship at the moment, and it's going to be James Dean on the line in the Ford Mustang RTR Spec 5 DM. Comes off the line for the second qualifying run as he fires through the gears. Look at this from James Dean. He knows what's on the board as he fires big angle at it, and he holds the angle as James Dean now sets the rear tyres alight, puts the car where it needs to be. Oh, and he makes a mistake. James Dean makes a mistake.
Wow.
And he aborts the run and says, that's all she's got.
Still puts on a show for the fans there, but we're seeing some of the best that this country has to offer, making mistakes that they've never made before. What is going on here? This is crazy.
Well, look at this. The initiation was absolutely phenomenal. Comes down there. Incredible angle. Look at the steering angle. Doesn't change the steering wheel whatsoever. Sets himself up perfectly for this zone, and then he gets into it. Watch this.
Angle, though.
Did the car shut down?
I think he just stalls it out. He is at like complete lock coming through this zone. There is no more angle to be had in this car.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's all it is.
You're right. You're right. Comes in there with a ton of angle, can't keep the car on angle, and has to shut it down.
And you take your foot off for a second just to try and find a bit more grip, but it is not there. And James Dean elects to just huck it around, throw a 360 for the fans.
Yeah, look, he's in front of the grandstand. He says, you know what, I'm going to show my appreciation to everyone that's come out this weekend and put on a show. And wow, he moves off and he stays where he is at the moment. And we carry on with the order. It's going to be Oliver Randalou up next, and 82.5 down the order, 28th place. He is in the show for tomorrow, as everyone now is locked in. So Oliver Randalou will try and gain, he want to be in, you know, top 10, top 8, try and get some points from qualifying if he can. And he needs those points to keep a hold of this championship, as he knows that everyone else is now hunting him down. Randalou from Estonia waits to get the thumbs up from our start line, Marshall Martin. And he'll slam that BMW E46 into gear, M50 turbo underneath the bonnet. 1,000 horsepower, and Randalou absolutely dialed and in the zone. Look at this, doesn't even want to take his eyes off of the start line. He's focused and he's hungry for it. He wants to be back on the podium. He podiumed here in Ireland many moons ago, and he'll want to do that again in front of this incredible crowd as he fires through the gears. Down he comes over the hill, and look at this from Randalou. Locks up the front brake, makes it work as he holds onto it. Oh, and it's a little bit of understeer, but he gets back into it again as Randalou opens up the throttle. Now works his way around outside zone 4, looks for the transition and gets it done. Looks for the wall, flicks that car to angle, takes the back bumper right to the wall, but it pushes him away from the wall again as he now looks for that last outside zone across the line.
Yeah, looking for a little bit too much out of the car here, trying to get it to go maybe a bit beyond the limit that he's got it set up for right now. A bit of a head shake there, but
I think he knew what he'd done there.
Yeah, but this is what you need to try to go for these crazy scores, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but the car just fighting back a little bit on him as he's got everything completely wicked up, dragging that front left tire around, and I mean, not a lot of smoke out of it, which tells me that there's not a lot of weight on that tire right now, so he's really pushing it, softening a lot out of the car to try and find every bit. He's shaking his head midway through the run.
Yeah, he knows
the mistakes he's made, but that bumper drag though, I mean, that's just one of those. This is for me. This is one of those, like, I just got to do it for me to know that the rest of this run was absolutely crazy. But yeah, Oliver Randalou, he can do this. He can put down these epic runs, but trying something a little bit different. Even in transition, he's lifting a wheel there, showing how much suspension that, how soft he's got everything in the car. But man, Randalou, trying for it. Totally commendable, going for something a little bit crazy.
No, 100%. He knew he had to do it. 77.5 on his second qualifying run for Oliver Randalou. Look, he's still in the championship fight, and you know, it can't be won in qualifying. It all has to be done tomorrow. Top 32, top 16. Becky's down with him. Becky, how's he feeling? It's going to be a tough championship for him.
Oliver, I saw a head shake in the car as you were driving around the track. Not happy by the looks of things. Can you tell us what happened from your point of view?
Yeah, I was trying to go like really hard. We have some betting on in the paddock with the teammates, so I was like pushing really hard. But I knew I made a couple of mistakes, and I think I don't know the points, but I think it's not the best one. So
We saw a bit of understeer on outer zone 3, I think it was. Like, have you got the car set up to be softer for this track?
yeah, it's quite soft. It's quite gripped up, and we're just from the day one we pushed the limits, like added more grip just to be ready. And it's hard. If there's a little bit understeer or something, then it's messed up.
Well, you're into the top 32. This is a track that isn't very forgiving, and we'll see you there tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, he knew it himself.
Yeah.
Like, and as a driver, they know where the mistakes are. They know where it's all gone wrong. We go back on the start line to our final run of qualifying. It's going to be Connor Shanahan, our current points leader at the moment. He sits on the line, a little nervous, a little tentative. Sits in 14th position at the moment for 91 dead. He'll want to improve on that as he wipes his eyes slightly and slams the car through the gears. Shanahan looking very relaxed this weekend and fires that car to big angle now. Stands on the foot brake, puts the front wheel right where it needs to be. He's going to be gunning for one of those top spots. He wants to be in the qualifying showdown. And look at this, rear wheels fulfilling all of that outside zone as Shanahan works that GT86 all the way around the circuit, puts the backlight towards the wall, but no contact, keeps it clean. The Shanahan has absolutely got this one dialed this weekend.
Such a smooth slalom through those transitions, and he is known worldwide as one of the best drivers in transition. He does it with such commitment and such grace. Look at him just deciding, that's it. I don't need these tires. They're done.
They're done.
Wrap them up for the weekend, send them off. But look at this, just gets on the throttle, gets that car transition. It does a good job of weaving into that zone and pushing the car nice and wide. You can almost see the smile on his face as he knows what kind of driving he's able to do throughout this run on your home track in front of all the fans. And man, I really love the way that he's able to get the car back and forth. It does. It's like that head-on through a slalom. And Connor Shanahan showing why he is one of the greatest drifters on the planet right now. To see him drive like this in Ireland, that is just one of those bucket list items I get to check off.
You got to tick it off the list.
Tick it off the list.
Watch the Shanahans and James Dean and all the Irish just
go down and throw
down in their home track. It's always good to go and visit a driver's home track or country, because you see the support from the fans and everything else. And there we go, a 97, but Shanahan into second position and into the qualifying showdown. And he is looking on form and back to the Connor Shanahan that we know. Becky's down with him. Becky, Connor Shanahan back on form.
Absolutely, guys. Connor's just catching up on the replay as this is a very important weekend for him as we're going midway through this season. Connor, you've got a big smile on your face, though. It looked like you were having the crack out there in front of your home crowd. Can you tell us what's happening from your point of view?
Yeah, it's definitely nice. I feel like it's probably just trying to get a good rhythm. I think it's quite hard. Everybody is pushing. I was even saying to the guys yesterday, we came here 4 years ago, and Friday practice 4 years ago, there was probably 5 or 6 of us are flat out from the get-go because we know this track. But I got to give props. The level right now is just endless. Every day I'm pushing myself as hard as I can to be a better person, better driver. And, it's great to see that everybody wants it, not just, a couple of guys. Everybody is going hard. And that run was just about putting the pieces together. I felt like it honestly was probably still one of the worst runs of the weekend for me. It was just, I can't really get a good flow. And but I knew I just needed to get enough over the line, get into the top 4, get some showdown points. And, let's go rub some doors and put on a show now.
Fantastic, Connor, and we'll see you out there. Got a 97 on the board. He's happy, guys.
I bet he is, Becky. It looks like he's back on form. Connor Shanahan, back to the old Connor Shanahan. No more heartbreak, no more, that hard weekend for Connor Shanahan. It's all about the good vibes, back on the podium and feeling good in the car. There we go, the Shanahan team were being represented around the paddock and around the stands. Peter Wycheck rounds out qualifying in first place with a 99.5. Shanahan in second, Pushkonski in third, and Zacharil in fourth. Zacharil's come to the party this weekend. Jacob, some of these guys are...
A lot of our wildcard drivers moving their way up and locking in these spots I mean, James Dean down a little bit further.
Yeah.
It's Laurie Heinonen down a little bit further. It's wild. Jack Shanahan in 25th, and then Alan Hines just barely making it in. The comeback story of the weekend right there.
Yeah, this is who we lost. Ryan Hughes from the UK, unfortunately out in 33rd place. We lose Timo Patola, Kevin Quinn, Yves Meyer, George Christoforou, Correa, Amanda Sorensen, and then those drivers scoring double zeros. Dave Egan, a tough weekend for Dave Egan on home soil, but Amanda Sorensen, you know what, I hope to see her back once again in Drift Masters, and same with Ryan Hughes. Good to see those guys come back at some point, maybe other rounds. Now, we get down to a teaser.
Right.
Of what is going to go down tomorrow. We get a teaser today. This is the heat tree, though, for tomorrow. This is what we've got to look forward to. Look at the battles lining up. Cherba Olsen stood out for me instantly. Nielsen Randaloo.
Yeah. Connor Falvey, Dago Saito. That is an old versus new. That is going to be epic. Oh, man. What else we got? I mean,
Shanahan, Sada.
That is nuts. Pizgonski, Fiona Roach, needing that comeback, needing that to get through. And man, there's so many good ones in here.
Laurie Heinonen and Nakamura.
Oh, man, Yuha. That'll be that's going to be a tongue twister for us.
Tomorrow, yeah.
But so good. Mika Keska-Korpi, Jakob Kroll. Every top 32, though.
It's like a final every battle.
Oh, man. And so many cool stories throughout this entire thing. I'm already excited. I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to be up all night making my different
Well, you're going to have to get some rest.
Oh, do I have to?
Jason Benet, Jarko Euler, I've just seen that one.
Everywhere you look. Everywhere you look,
there's some
dude,
heavy.
Tornica Villa and Chris Brady. Oh, that is going to be carnage. That's going to be nuts. There isn't a battle on here that I'm not excited for in some way. Thomas Kiley and Jack Shanahan.
Oh man, yeah.
Thomas was the fastest car, had the fastest max speed. Yeah, Harry Kerr, Dwayne McKeever. What is this?
This is Drift Masters.
Oh man!
I told you, when you called me at the beginning of the year and said, "Hey, I'm going to come and sit next to you and talk some drifting," I was like, "You're in better be ready for this."
I know.
Top 32 is like a final battle every way through, and there's hearts broken left, right, and centre, and we get mechanicals. And look, it's going to be a tough one. There we go. We're going to take a look now, though, as a teaser for tomorrow. This is a qualifying showdown. This is how it works. The top 4 qualifiers face off in battles. Extra championship points, up to 4 additional points for contenders.
Yeah.
So the top 4 go head to head. But what top 4 are going head to head? Who's going to battle who? Well, it's easy. It's going to be Peter Vicek to take on Marko Zakaril and Jakub Pszczonski to take on Connor Shanahan.
And this is huge for Connor. I mean, being out in the lead like this is going to be huge. And we're already seeing, it looks like,
so
Vincek,
news just breaking.
Yeah.
And you're at home probably thinking, what's happened to Piotr Vicek? So news is breaking to us right now. Once again, Piotr Vicek taking the option to step out of qualifying showdown. We're going to get a buy run from Marko Zakaril. Piotr Vicek, look, we go back to Spain. He had that big accident with James Dean, unfortunately, that destroyed his Supra. He had to prep his other car for competition for the rest of the year. He said, look, it's good fun, I like it, but the points aren't worth risking my car, so I'm going to take a step back. This isn't mandatory. These guys can remove themselves from the competition if they want to. We don't make them do this.
Yes, but for the drivers that are in here and remaining, these points are absolutely massive.
Well, they are for Connor Shanahan right now.
But even, Pszczonski and Zakaril to be able to start to move up and to get back into a bit of a championship fighter or fight to just even get up a little bit further. And some of this is just a respect thing, and a lot of it is now they're getting some tandem competition before they go into top 32. It's almost like a bit of extra practice as well. And for drivers fighting for every single lap, this is absolutely massive. Marko Zakaril going to be taking that buy run, it looks like.
Yeah, he's going to be taking that buy run, so he has to do the buy run because the rules here at Drift Masters are you have to initiate on the first corner to prove your car works, to advance in competition. So there we go. You can see Connor Shanahan down there getting the Wally system fitted on the roof so we can get some of those, that information before we head into tomorrow. Marko Zakaril is going to head into the tyre warming area, get the tyres on that car warmed and ready for the buy run in our qualifying showdown. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, just a little insight of what is going to happen tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be a movie. We've already seen the battle tree. If you're not excited, well, I don't know why, because Jacob's so excited he can't sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to head, though, to our qualifying showdown. Well, 41 drivers were whittled down to just 32, and those 32 drivers battled it out to grid themselves for tomorrow's top 32 competition. But the top 4 get blessed with an opportunity to gain even more points in qualifying by heading out for a qualifying showdown. Peter Wycheck, as we just mentioned earlier on, removed himself from that qualifying showdown and said, look, I don't want to compete. I'm going to sit behind the scenes and get the car prep for tomorrow. Marco Zaccaril gets a bye run. And the rules here of Drift Masters is he has to initiate the first corner to prove the car works to make it into the final, who will face either Jakob Pruszkonski or Connor Shanahan. So
the question is, does he do a full run and get the extra practice in, get that seat time in,
or will he save the car?
Or do you just do the one initiation and call it? We'll see here.
Well, we'll see here. He's going to fire the car in. So there we go. He's automatically now moved himself into the final of our qualifying showdown, and he instantly shuts the car down. But I do have to say that this weekend isn't like any other weekend at Drift Masters. It may be moving forward into the future, but this weekend, Darren McNamara from DMAC, they have put some prize money on the line. So for the first time on a Saturday here at Drift Masters, the top qualifier gets 2,000 euros. So Peter Wycheck has automatically won 2,000 euros, but the qualifying showdown winner will also get 2,000 euros.
And that, I mean, that can mean a lot too. That can mean a lot to the program.
The prize pot, yeah.
Yeah, it could just be, I mean, it could be anything from upgrades into the car. It could be more practice time.
That.
It could be, you know, taking your favorite announcers out to a nice steak dinner. It could be that.
It could be that. They could treat us. That would be lovely tonight. I wouldn't turn it down.
For looking for suggestions where to spend that money. Yeah.
And there'll be prize money on the line tomorrow, so the DMAC putting money up onto, you know, on top of the prize money already here at Drift Masters, making a Saturday worthwhile for a lot of these drivers. And of course, Strom Wheels as well, jumping in and putting even more money into the prize pot throughout this weekend. And we've seen that other rounds. We see that in Finland with Finjector as well. So here we go. This is going to be the first real battle of our qualifying showdown. It's going to be Jakob Pruszkonski to take on Connor Shanahan. Now, don't forget, if you're new to Drift Masters, if you're the higher qualifier, you get to whoever